What is up, folks? Right before this episode starts, I want to thank you for watching, and I want to say this episode we had a little bit of an audio technical difficulty. I did everything I could. I brought this episode into the surgery room and I operated on it. I did everything I could to make sure that it sounds as good as I possibly could get it, because it's a good 2 hours and 45 minutes with Natalie Whalen. I couldn't bring myself to throw it all away because it's a really good time and there's some good stuff in here, and I had a great time with Natalie. It'd make me sad to have to see it all go. So this episode is still going out to you guys, but just bear with us, all right? We did our very best with the audio. If you want to make sure that stuff like this happens less with the show, you want to help us, you want to assist and give us a little bit more technical expertise over here, because trust me, Ruse knows what he's doing, but I am operating on all cylinders. We're firing on every side of the board. It's all your boy. If you want to help me out, you want to get some more cooks in the kitchen, the way you do that is through Patreon, folks. So I'm popping the Patreon on the screen right now. Please, please, please consider it. It helps us. It helps this show grow. It helps me get a dude in the room who's just monitoring everything, making sure we don't have another little audio mishap that affects a whole 2 hours and 45 minutes. But hey, it's a good 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's a golden episode. Natalie was a trooper, and thank her for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Let's see the episode.
How many episodes did you watch? You just watched Marcos?
Yeah.
How do you know Marcos?
Marcos, he lived in Amsterdam for a year, and I visited Amsterdam at the end of last summer and went to like a comedy show, and I was like, hey, we're not actually filming right now, are we?
I don't know. I felt like as soon as I asked that, I was like, maybe I should have waited to ask that for us to start. So yeah, technically, let's just say we started.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so I went to a comedy show in Amsterdam,
Cool.
and I was like, hey, do you know any open mics in the area? I would love to, get up there. Because I wasn't, deep in the scene at the moment, but I definitely, already was into comedy. And the lady not only, helped me get on the mic the next day, but she also was like, hey, this kid that was here, doing a lot of comedy, just moved to Chicago. You should hit him up. And so I slid into his Instagram DMs. And then randomly ran into him in Chicago, at an open mic. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm Natalie. Do you remember that? Yeah. And then we just kind of became friends after that.
You just happened to meet him again, is what you're saying? You just happened to run into each other again later in life?
Yeah. Well, I think it was bound to happen because we go to a lot of the same mics.
Yeah, but he didn't happen to end up in Chicago. I mean, that's the crazy part, that he ended up coming here of all places.
So he was already in Chicago.
When you met him?
When I was in Amsterdam.
Oh, I see.
So then the lady that was hosting a show was this kid moved to Chicago, and then I had said, because I had said I was from Chicago. So she's like, oh, Chicago,
the Chicago-Amsterdam connection.
Yeah, apparently. It's the pipeline.
And what did he do? He just told you, where to go, what the good spots are in there?
She, the person from Amsterdam, or Marcos?
I guess either way.
Yeah, there, it was just the lady guiding me. I wish I could name drop her right now. I don't remember her name. But then Marcos, I ran into him at a mic, and then he was like, you want to come to this other mic? And now we go to this one mic every week consistently on Wednesdays at Mickey's Park.
What day?
Wednesday nights.
And how would you describe
It's very much the same comics go every week, so it's more of a squad than necessarily trying all the proper jokes that you could at different mics in front of different audiences. But it's really fun. I feel like it's a good community.
I feel like that's how a lot of mics kind of end up. See, there it is. So you can open that door for it now. I feel like that's how a lot of mics end up, though. Is it becomes its own community. That's kind of why I ask, because it's it's whatever it started as, but then it kind of becomes something else over time. And that's kind of why it's nice to go to different mics as comics. If you're a comedian and you go to a different mic, it's a whole different environment than this one. And it's a whole different community than this one. You end up meeting different people, because some people only go to one mic.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there was a guy that's been on this show named Frank Vega. And I asked him, I was like, do you go to, what mics do you go to? He's like, just the Glenwood. I'm like, oh, I'm getting your exclusive content. When I go to that mic, I didn't know he didn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. That can go either way. I'm sure you go to more mics than that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I try to hit like a bunch of different ones, even on like the same weekdays. Besides the Wednesday one, I'll usually switch off a bunch.
Yeah.
Because I'm also I'm not a big fan of consistency in my life in general, like as per my life principles. But yeah, I like to switch up who I'm meeting. But I do see a lot of the same people even at different mics, like in the area.
Yeah, because everybody's everywhere. It seems like I can't remember who it was that said it to me. It might have been Mike Dwyer, but he was talking about how like people go all over the city, like they're all over the place, and it kind of creates this giant community of people. Because like the same person you'll see on the south side, you'll see up here way on the north side, just all over the place. Yeah, and it's just because everybody's doing it. I would say that you are probably in the minority with having consistency being so far away from you, because it seems like comedians are crazy about that. Like they have like crazy standards they set themselves to. They're like, I have to go to 200 open mics in 1 year. Like they'll tell themselves all kinds of things. Yeah. So for you to say that, I feel like it's like there's probably some comics watching this that are like,
Maybe.
comic.
What?
I don't think it really matters. I think it's whatever you want to do, because like in the end, everybody has a different process, right? Like some people don't have to go to 100 mics. Some people can go to 10, but I could see how it would help to go every single night. I feel like I would go crazy if I was doing something like that.
I definitely have to like switch off between nights that I'm going to mics and nights that I'm experiencing life.
Yeah.
Because that's where I get all my jokes.
Yeah.
It's from doing things and like finding things funny. I can't find everything funny if I'm looking at other people tell jokes all night, you know?
Yeah. And like, that reminds me of like how you'll see really popular comics end up just telling, like it's kind of an arch of a lot of comics' careers where they'll start talking about their everyday life and all this normal stuff, and then all of a sudden it becomes like their famous life, and you can't just talk about the everyday problems because you don't have those problems anymore. Now it's like, man, don't you guys hate when you're sitting first class? And then but like that's not something you say when you're starting out. And like it's just kind of because you need that life. It also, just like with any art form, you can't spend all your time doing it. Like even writing, I think advice you'll see authors get or give is like you need to live a lot before you even try writing a book, because you need that life experience to write something. Do you find yourself when you're in everyday life then like, oh, that's a great bit right there, I gotta, you write it down?
Yeah. I'll put it in my like phone notes, and then later I'll put it in my joke book and like try to flesh it out, change it, move it in different directions and stuff.
How long does that process usually last for? Like, is it usually a long time? I mean, I guess no joke ever really ends. It's probably always getting better. But like, how long from the idea until you think you have like a solid joke?
It's less about time, more about practice, I think. So if I write it down and it's not like a joke yet, sometimes I'll still say it at an open mic and see where people laugh. And then, I don't know, if I do it in an open mic maybe like 2 or 3 times, then I feel like I know whether it's solid or if I should either scrap it or like take it a different direction. So it's really just practicing it a few times, and then I'm like, okay, I'll throw it in if I have like a real show or something, then I'll put it in there.
Yeah. My community liked that one, your little open mic community. You're like, I'm going to keep this one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Has there ever been a joke that you didn't think would work and then it did? Was there anything like that where you had, or like one that maybe you had to make work?
Definitely. I think like I've said things and then people have laughed and I'm like, why are you guys laughing? I'm just talking about my life.
Are they laughing with me or at me right now?
It is unclear a lot of the time. Truly.
That would probably be a real see, I'm not a comic. I make music, but I just happen to peruse. And so, like, I have to imagine that would be that would be tough, because you would probably, part of it is just being yourself, and then when they start laughing at the wrong parts, that'd probably throw you off guard a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, wait, did I do something? Was that me? Did I do that?
Yeah. Well, that's why you practice, and then you know.
Yep. And then you probably
pause.
find how to use parts of your personality the right way, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, they like when I do that. They like when I throw my hands up like this. I'm gonna start doing that more often.
Yeah,
Just stupid
totally.
stuff. Yeah.
I found that I have like some weird hand mannerisms when I tell my jokes because I put one of my sets on YouTube and a guy commented like, "Why are you petting your chest?" Because I like will go like this and stuff, and I'm like, "Oh dang, I didn't notice that before, but now I'm thinking about it."
I have heard. I think it was Casey Neistat who said it on. I think the podcast is called Camp Something. He's a guy from Flagrant, but he was on his podcast and he was talking about how he doesn't really care about hate comments. He doesn't really care about negative comments unless they're true, because that's the only reason it would bother you. Because that's the only reason you would care if it's true. Otherwise, it's like, well, why do I care what this person has to say? But of course, they were right in that. You're like, damn, do that.
And I'm like, is that something that I should try to focus on? But yeah, whatever.
You could be that girl.
I'm talking about what I'm talking about. Whatever happens here, it's just gonna happen regardless.
Yeah, you would try not to do it and end up just doing it more, just patting your head and patting your chest.
Literally.
You know?
Maybe I should try that at my next.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Do that for a whole set. That'd be impressive, actually.
I'll let you know if I do that.
You become a prop comic real quick. Just use your hands, you know. I feel like that would be like one of the ultimate tests of awareness right there. That'd be really, really hard. Because what is it? Like, you have to do it. Is it just doing it at all? Is it? I always forget. Like, I remember being a kid and they would say, "Can you do that?" But was it patting your head?
Just doing it. Some people, it's
Not
like
even that hard now that I think about it. Like, it's pretty easy.
it is. Maybe it's because we practiced.
Yeah.
Can you do it with the other? Yeah. It's
Well, can you maybe is it like, can you switch though? I can switch. I could go back and forth. Like, I could do this and then tap. Oh, okay, that's kind of hard. That's kind of like the flex.
Oh yeah. Switch.
Yeah.
Every joke, I'll switch my direction.
Yeah, that's how they know it's changing over. Oh my God, she switched it up. She's patting her chest now. That would be fun. That'd be fun.
That would be a blast. It'd be a great time. Everybody needs something to make themselves stick out. You got to figure out what it is. You got to figure out how you, my friend, will establish yourself as the professional mind blower that you are. Because you are one, but how do you show them? How do you blow their minds? Maybe it's patting your chest and rubbing your head. Maybe it's flipping those over every joke or so. Maybe it's coming up with a cure for cancer. Maybe it's writing rap songs. Whatever the heck it is, maybe you ought to get a t-shirt to let the people know, to preempt them into the experience they're about to receive, that you are a professional mind blower. Say, hey, just warning you, this is what's about to go down. I'm going to blow your mind. And that's why we got these shirts, folks. Professional Mind Blower t-shirts, $25. You can buy them directly from us. We got smalls, mediums, and larges, and we're making more sizes if you need them. So just let us know. Shipping is included in that $25 price. How could you beat it? It's a great way for you to support the show. It's a great little conversation starter, and you are a professional mind blower. It's a reminder to go blow minds. If you want to support the show, but you don't want to get a t-shirt, the other way you can do so is Patreon, folks. Again, that's how we make it so these crazy little audio mishaps don't happen. That's how we get this show off the ground into the heavens. So please consider it. I love doing this. I love bringing people in. I love highlighting their natural abilities, their talents, their unique intricacies that make them who they are, and I can't do it without your support. So please consider throwing $5 into that pot every month. It's the price of a coffee, the price of a beer at the bar, and you are helping us achieve greatness. So please consider it, for real. I appreciate you, and I couldn't do it without you. I appreciate every single person who helps make this possible, because seriously, it's a group effort. It takes a village. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's hear more about distinguishing yourself on stage.
I'm trying to think of like other things that people, because it's like hard to stand out on a stage, like truly. Like there's that guy Frank Vega I mentioned. He has a haircut that no one else has, and I really think that that's like a superpower for him. His hair is like completely bald, but then he has one giant curl right there in the front. And when I did the podcast with him, I didn't ask him about it because I was the whole podcast and thinking, oh, maybe he doesn't want me to ask about that. And then right after I turned the camera off, he's like, oh, yeah, the reason I have my hair like this, and the reason I'm like, But it was that. It was just because he wanted to be more unique. He wanted to stand out and have a funny look.
That's why he has this. Wow.
Yeah, that's commitment right there.
real.
He goes through everyday life with like one Jimmy Neutron curl, and that's all he has.
Beautiful. I mean, I'm missing my front tooth, so I
How
can
did that
relate to
happen?
that. I was, tubes behind boats. I was on a banana boat, so it was like 2 sets of 5 people. It was a huge banana boat at summer camp, and I was working at summer camp at the staff boat ride, yeah, whatever. In the previous year, someone got concussed, so they added helmets, and so I hit my face on someone's helmet when we were just chatting. Because the driver was insane. The driver was just like trying to murder us. It was so fun. But yeah, then I lost my tooth, and I'm like, can I swear on this, or does it matter?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I was like, holy fuck, I think I just lost my tooth. And then the other kids at Bible camp were like, did she just say fuck?
It's like, you fucking bitches, I just lost
And
my
I'm like, yeah.
God, it's not about God right now. It's about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. I can't imagine losing a tooth. I would be so. You're not self-conscious about it? You get self-conscious about it ever?
No.
I would probably be okay with it over time, but at first there'd be an adjustment period.
I have like a fake one I put in when I'm trying to be fancy. And yeah.
Your wooden tooth,
Yeah, wouldn't.
like Abraham Lincoln.
I wanted a gold tooth, but my dentist wouldn't, she didn't fuck with that.
No?
No, she was like, you are a young woman, you should not have a gold tooth.
New
And I'm like,
dentist.
whatever.
You
My
strike-
mom too, and I'm like, well, yeah, I guess.
As a rapper, I think a gold tooth is very cool. I think a gold tooth is very distinctive. It's very like I would never want a grill. I wouldn't want a grill just because of how ridiculous. Like you'd have to. It just seems like a lot of work to have a grill. But if you are missing a tooth and you need to fill it in, by all means,
Right?
Like
That's
shine it
what
up
I'm
in there.
saying.
Like you want a glimmer. You want to like walk in the room and smile and literally like people's eyes, like the glare. They're like, whoa, she's glowing.
Maybe for summer. Maybe that'll be my summer treat. Get a gold tooth.
Yeah. For your second appearance on Ruse Radio, you'll have a big,
Oh yeah.
big smile.
I listen to some of your music.
Did
It's
you?
fun. Yeah, it's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thank
really
you.
fun. You have a new song, Theology something.
Process theology.
Process Theology, very cool. I like the what is it, Amateur Hour? I like that
Yes.
one. That one was fun. And then your most popular one as well with the features. It's got other artists.
I don't know. What did you listen to it on?
Spotify.
So if it's Spotify, I'm gonna guess. Oh, that would be Bogart. That
Yes.
song would be Bogart.
Yeah, that one was cool.
Yes, that's with Jeff Sky, Rocco Tesla, and Vaughn Lambo. Thank you, though. Yeah, I've been doing music for a long time. Like, it's cool because I think it's something, again, that comics kind of understand. Because I will go to these open mics and I'll say that they'll ask me, how long have you been doing music for? I'll be like, about 12 years. They're like, oh, I'm like, now it all makes sense.
Like why you're good?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Because comedians, that's their general thing. They just think they have to do it for a super long time, which I think is probably the right way to look at it. Like, you're never going to be great at something right away.
Yeah.
Unless you are gifted. Like, you're the 1 in 1 billion, because it's just so rare. You have to practice everything. And you never know which one it's going to be, so you just have to keep going and keep going. And that process, like, you kind of learn to love doing it. But yeah, thank you, because oh man, it's been a long time coming, I tell you. And that's why I started this podcast, really, is the music. So it's trying to get eyes on that. And it's kind of why all comedians start podcasts, is because they're trying to get eyes on their comedy. So I'm just stealing their mojo. You know?
Yeah, sorry about it.
But yeah, thank you. And also too, like, I think it's about finding something that you love to do. I just was lucky enough to find that early. I love doing that. Like, I love the process of doing it because I know it all came from me. Like, no one else can make exactly what that is, because that's what it is. I made it. And like,
Yeah.
I know for a fact that it's all like this process of like yes-anding myself and allowing myself to go wherever I can go, and then you make the best possible thing. And it's just that I knew how to do that. And so And I just tell everybody, I'm like, please, dear God, like just find what you like in life, or else you will go crazy.
I like how you said yes, anding yourself.
Because that's what it is. There is a guy that's been on this podcast named Jackman Raps, and I think I got it from him. But he once said to me, everything is a freestyle. And I think like freestyling, improv, it's all the same kind of thing. Improv kind of teaches you the rules of life, just like freestyling kind of teaches you the rules of life. Like we are right now, technically, we're freestyling. Like I don't know what you're gonna say. I don't know what I'm necessarily gonna say, but you just flow with that.
You didn't practice the script?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't go over it last night.
Fine.
I had a lot going on.
Yeah, that's fair.
You didn't notice I was ad-libbing?
Yeah.
But man, I must be doing good.
I didn't memorize your part. So.
Yeah, you're covering pretty well.
Thank you.
But yeah, so it's just like that process of doing that is really what you have to do. That's the only way that you'll come up with your best stuff, your best ideas, is if you're constructive like that, if you try to build upon everything. Because one thing I'll see people do so often is like they'll stop themselves. They'll have a good idea, but then they'll be like, oh no, but I can't. Like, oh, but I can't do that. I had a podcast I did with Chase Richard recently, and he said on there that, like, you know, as he's talking, he's like, man, would I listen to myself saying this? Like, probably not. And I think that's how a lot of people think. And I didn't have the words in the moment, but I was thinking about that later. And it's like, you can't, if you really want to have your best ideas, you can't even think that way at all, because then you'll start criticizing yourself and you'll start saying, I'm not the guy to say that. And then you just stop. You stop from doing whatever you could have done, you know? So life's all about yes-anding yourself, I think. Yes-anding everything. Yeah. Everything and anything and everything. Truly, like, that's what improv is trying to tell you, and it's really true. And it drives me crazy because, like, you'll see improv people even, like, forget that in everyday life. They'll do it in improv, but then they don't know how to do it in the real world. It's like, what? Didn't they just tell you how to do it? Because it's not that hard. It makes you a really fun person to be around when you know how to yes-and things. I'm telling you guys. Yeah. Like, if someone says, and I mean, like, the wildest things. I'm telling you. Like, someone has to say something totally crazy. Like, if somebody said, I'm trying to think of something like totally wild. I mean, it's not like offensive. Because I would yes and that too. I'm not going to lie. If it was like, if someone says like, let's see. Like when I was a baby, I really loved I love jumping on the trampoline with babies. Say someone says, I love jumping on the trampoline with babies. When you say that, you say, that's cool. How high do they bounce? You know, you got to come up with something good right away. Right away. Or else, it's just like a dead-end conversation. All right?
Yeah.
I'll give you a test. All right, I'll give you one. So someone says to you, my cat, I just shaved my cat this weekend.
She cold?
Good one.
I'm looking at your cat now. Gotta get a cute little sweater if you're all cold. I am not a big fan of hairless cats, and that's probably mean of me to say. Actually, I could be a fan. I just need to know one, you know?
You're probably right. I don't think I like hairless cats either. What's that breed called? The hairless ones that everybody knows? Is it
Siamese? No, Sphinx. That sounds, I don't know.
Yeah, Siamese, I think, is the, I don't know what Siamese cats look like, but I think it's Sphinx. Yeah, yeah. The invisible guy over there is looking it up right now. I think, but a Sphinx cat, those things, I think it's like, I think they must have their own problems. Like they have their own upkeep process because you can't just bathe them.
They're like thousands of dollars, I think. Because people like that have allergies need them.
Yep.
So supply and demand, baby. You know.
Well, that would be what it is, right? If you have an allergy, it would just be so weird. How do you pet it? Like, do you just rub your? It'd be like petting a human.
You need to go a certain direction, you know.
I would imagine. I mean, with the cat, yeah, maybe not. 'Cause yeah, cat, you have to go back. But with that one, do you? That's a great question. Can I pet a Sphinx cat? But
I don't think so. I feel like it would be wrong.
Yeah,
That sounds wrong to me.
spiritually wrong.
Yeah,
Can't do
truly.
that.
It's more of like innate. Like it says something about you.
Yeah. Yeah, like a a litmus test of your personality.
Yeah, it's like the shopping cart. The shopping cart.
That's a good one.
philosophy.
Yeah. For those that don't know, what that one is what if you see a shopping cart just sitting out in the parking lot, are you the person that's going to return it or not? I am the person that would return it if I have time. I would return the shopping cart.
I think the main thing is it's your own shopping cart.
Oh, is that what
It's
it
like,
is?
why do we put our shopping carts away?
Oh,
It's obvious. It seems obvious.
Yeah,
But it's also like, from a philosophical standpoint, it doesn't benefit you personally to put it away. Maybe
a good question.
Maybe the better question is if it is just a random one in the middle.
yeah,
I think that
so.
makes more sense, actually.
I think so. I don't know what the test is. I don't know if you might be right. Is it just the one that's yours? Because if it's yours, I think everybody should do that. If you have a shopping cart and you take all your groceries out of the shopping cart, you are a nuisance. If you just leave that thing.
Yeah. Okay, well then let's go with the one where it's the random one in the middle of the parking lot.
Okay, we'll do that. But those people who do leave the shopping cart there, just know you're on my list, okay? Yeah, we don't like you. But with the random one, see, that, I think that's, it kind of shows, like, where your head is at, is how I look at it. Like, it shows, like, if you're the type of person who's concerned with the well-being of reality.
It's like an in the moment versus what are you doing next? Because if you're in a rush, like out of the parking lot, you're like, okay, I gotta take care of myself or whatever. But if you're like a slow moving person, you're like, oh, I'm just living life. I have time to put away the shopping cart. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of depends who you are. If you're grandma, then maybe you're not putting that shopping cart away.
No, and I don't really expect grandma to do it, and that's okay.
Yeah, grandma, I wasn't calling you out a minute ago.
You have pass.
We
But
did not-
put
we
away your own shopping cart, okay? That's all. Or have somebody do it for you.
Yeah, grandma. Like, ask the employee. Ask the nice gentleman right there. I just feel like things like that, I don't know. It's probably rare, though, to be that person that actually does it. It probably isn't common. Because, like, one thing I'll notice when I'm looking at the masses, like, when I observe how general people act, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense that people wouldn't do stuff like that. Or people wouldn't, it's like if you pass a homeless person, you're not going to always give them money. You can't always do the right thing. And so I think people get caught up in that. They're like, oh, well, I'm not the savior of the universe. And so then they just stop doing things like that. Because it's about how much is actually in your control, really. Like, how much can you really realistically do? If you spent all day putting the shopping carts away, they might as well hire you at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well get a job there. If you spent all your time giving money to homeless people, you're going to go broke very fast, especially in a city, okay? Like, that's one thing I think about. Like, I'm thinking, like, man, it would be good for me to give homeless people more money. But then I think, like, but how do I choose which ones?
Yeah. I live on a pretty busy street, and I live really close to a Trader Joe's, and there's a lot of people that will be outside of Trader Joe's. And I've kind of adopted, like, if they ask for something specific from Trader Joe's, or Walgreens too, near me, I'll get them, like, something there, but I don't usually have cash on me and stuff like that. Like, just the other day, this guy asked for bologna, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get you some bologna. But then I'm like, does Trader Joe's even have bologna? I looked, and there wasn't bologna, so I went back outside. I'm like, can I get you ham? And then he said, I don't eat uncured meats. And I was like, okay, what about turkey? So I got him a pack of turkey and one of those little sample cups of the snacks that they had. And then he was in a wheelchair, and he asked me to wheel him like a block up. And I'm like, at first I was like, don't you want to get your exercise in, Everett? And he was like, I'm tired. I'm like, okay. So I wheeled him up, and it actually made a lot of sense because it was really slushy, snowy, slippery that day.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay, this would have been hard to wheel. So this is fair. So I start wheeling him, and he's like a heavy guy, and it's slippery, and my feet are like, and I'm like, I probably look so ridiculous right now. But whatever. It was a fun little time. But then he started saying stuff like, maybe I should come live with you. And I'm like, I'm like, Everett, I'm going to drop you on the side of the road, sir, okay? Stop talking. Like, I just started ignoring whatever he was saying, so. It was fun. It was a fun encounter. But yeah, if they ask for something specific, like I'm game. Because if I'm going in there anyways, I'm like, it would feel more wrong, I suppose.
Yeah. That's interesting. I like giving them food. That makes me feel good because I feel like there's nothing that could go wrong there. Like I'm giving you the thing that you're going to use. I always worry, like, you know, I don't know where that money goes. I have no idea. Like, I don't want to give you $5 so you can spend it on a lotto ticket. I don't want that. Like,
What if they win the lotto?
That's true. Don't
Maybe
give me an
they'll give
idea.
you a little. They'll give you a little piece. Oh, well, yeah. I guess do you need an ID?
Maybe, I don't know. That's actually another good
If
question.
you look older than 21, you know, maybe you're fine.
But to claim it, though, if you win. Imagine being home.
And it's taxed, isn't it? Probably.
Yeah.
Everything's frickin' taxed these days.
Yeah. Thanks, Obama.
Because
Do you remember that?
people said that.
People really did say that. It got to the point where there was a meme, or I think it was Obama on a talk show, and he said, "Thanks, Obama," to himself in the mirror.
Really? I love that.
Funny.
God, he's such a king.
Obama is like, he's like however you feel about like him politically, he's really good at like, he's got swag.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
That is 100% true. And his wife, oh my God. Michelle's like the coolest person ever.
Yeah. Are you from here?
I am.
So you probably
I'm from
have a
the
little bit of
suburbs.
Chicago bias then. A little bit.
I guess. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Little bit.
My bias is being clouded because I have bias probably.
Yeah, you got your bias blinders on.
Yeah, I'm like, what? No, I'm not biased.
How
Says
far
every
outside
biased
of
person.
That's the biased person, yeah. How far outside the city?
I grew up in Park Ridge, so it's like, really depends on traffic. It could be a 20-minute drive. It could be like an hour. So
North, south, east?
Northwest.
Northwest. I see. And then what made you move into the city?
I was just ready to, like, I guess, test out my adult sea legs. And I wanted to just move out of the house. It's fun. I work remotely, so I really didn't have an incentive to be close to the city, but, like, I have friends in the area. And then I started getting more into comedy, and it's so convenient. I live in Lakeview. There's, like, so many open mics by me. So, I don't know. I just really like it. I live alone. I live in a studio that says storage room on the door. It's like an offshoot of the laundry room. Humble abode, but, you know, I like it. I like it a lot. It's really nice.
Storage room on the door.
It does.
That room has a history.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of technically is a storage room if you think about it.
It's storing me.
Yeah, it still technically is. Every room's a storage room if you really want to. That's like the Stephen Wright. Everywhere is walking distance if you've got the time.
Yeah, gosh.
It's the same thing.
Love it.
But yeah, that's interesting. And then you moved right into there. That's where the first place you moved.
Yeah. Yeah, I moved
long
there
ago?
last February, so almost a year. And I pay month by month in cash. You know?
Whoa! See, I actually wanted to do that. I was kind of annoyed when I found out I can't pay in cash because I was thinking, because I'm a server at a restaurant. So I'm like, dude,
yeah.
I'd rather do that.
It's fake money.
Yeah.
I say that it's like the only thing that is real money, but it feels fake sometimes. Cash, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not like putting that in a bank statement or anything.
Quarters feel fake to me. Like when I spend quarters on my laundry, I don't even think about it as money.
I'm like, ooh, ouch, ouch, ouch.
It's actually like bad. Like once I get a roll of quarters, it doesn't look like a 10 anymore. So, but yeah, each quarter is painful. Do you live right next to the laundry? You live right next to it?
Yes, so it's, you know, yeah, like a couple steps.
That's nice. That's very nice. That's convenient. That's kind of how it is here too. Because I can't imagine, like, I feel bad for all those people who have to get a giant basket and like wheel it out and go down
And they
the
get
street.
there, and then all of them are taken. Oh, down the street, yeah.
Yeah, down the street. That's what I'm talking about, like leaving the apartment building.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do have to do that.
And you have to monitor your stuff because that's in public, you know?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Someone could steal my SpongeBob shirt, my tie-dye shirt. I'd be so upset.
Did you make that?
No, I got it from Goodwill, where I
Cool.
get a lot of my clothes.
Ditto.
Shout out Goodwill, by the
Yeah.
way. I will stand by that to the day I die, okay? Adam Sandler's a role model to me. I think Adam Sandler's got fashion right.
Hell yeah.
I really don't think there's much to it, folks. You know? Like, having nice clothes is nice, okay? But then you start stressing about it, and you're like, oh, but this is an expensive shirt. This is a nice shirt. You don't want to think that way.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
know.
think
I
that.
agree. I get like everything I own pretty much secondhand.
Yep. And I think about that with shoes. Like, how do people do that with shoes? You know, like, they'll get really
I
nice
thrifted my
new
shoes. I thrifted my shoes that I wore here.
From where?
It was like a random. I was on a road trip, so it was like a random thrift shop in Oregon. Actually,
That makes it better.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. It gives it, like, a weird, like, whoa, I can say sentimental.
Je ne
but-
sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi. Yeah, it gives it a little bit of a je ne sais quoi.
This is how American people laugh. Haha. This is how French people laugh.
And then
Yeah, it's
Mexicans
French.
go ja 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 ja
Ja,
ja.
ja, ja.
I wanted to say souvenir. That's the word I was looking for. It's kind of like a souvenir at
Yes.
some point. It
Yeah,
becomes
yeah.
memorabilia.
No,
of your
100%.
trip.
Like my whole outfit is kind of a souvenir. Like I went, I had a friend. Well, I have a friend living in Madrid right now, and I went to visit her. Got this sweater at a thrift shop in Madrid. So it's like it feels fancy because I'm like, I got it like working in a cool place, but it was also like not expensive. So it was cool.
Yeah. Where was it? What made you pick that one out? You just saw it and you're like, that's the one?
Yeah, it felt right. I just liked it.
Is that your usual process with picking clothes? You just know? You just see it and you just know? Mm-hmm. That's what it's like for me too. I saw this shirt and I was like, that's something I would wear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you see yourself in it? Can you see other parts of your closet coming together with it? You know?
Oh, see, that I don't do because I'm a madman. I just hope it's going to work out.
And
That
that's
shows my male brain is showing now. My
it
blinders
is.
are on.
It is.
Because there is like I am okay at matching clothes, but I will make some mistakes, you know. Like I don't know. It's an aesthetic thing. If you sometimes I put on a shirt and I put on another shirt, I'm like, well, this is a choice, you know. I'm making a choice here. Like it's like brown on blue. I'm like, I guess this is allowed. I guess we'll allow it.
I think brown and blue can work.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. You get it.
You understand. But, you know, there's a science to it, you see. There's a science to it. And I think that, honestly, Goodwill has great, like, there's some cool stuff that you can find at a Goodwill. Like, I think that's a great shirt. I would wear that shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shirt, I would wear this shirt. I'm thinking of, like, other shirts I have. I have a SpongeBob shirt. No, that one I got from Target. That's what I thought I was wearing. That's why I said SpongeBob. And then, man, there's so many shirts I've gotten from Goodwill. I have a 7-Eleven shirt. It's like a 7-Eleven, like an employee shirt.
Oh, sweet.
I know!
Yeah, it's good.
I remember I put it on once, and someone asked me, like, oh, that's cool. Did you used to work at 7-Eleven? I said, nope.
Just the clout. I just get all the benefits.
That's right. That's right. I should wear it to a 7-Eleven and, you know, like, see if it gives me some pull.
That would be crazy.
See if
You
the-
kind of look the part.
Yeah, thank you. Really? I thought I wasn't Indian enough. It seems like there's always Indians in 7-Eleven. And here in Chicago, it's kind of like a joke. Like you'll see, almost always, it's somebody of like Middle Eastern affliction. It's like, how does this work? How do you guys end up at 7-Eleven? What is that? But I don't know. Like, I feel like I could pull off 7-Eleven pretty well. 7-Eleven, the dollar store. I'm like the guy you'd want to see at the Goodwill. I'm the guy you'd want to see there. Thank you very much. Take that as a compliment. I don't know if it was one or not, but it feels like one to me.
Yeah, let's go with that.
You look like the kind of guy I'd see working at Goodwill. Thank you. You're the kind of guy that would work at a 7-Eleven. Wow. Now I see my future. I don't know. I think if you were to do a day job like that, you just have to make it fun. I think that's what you have to do at that point. You have to like create fun in that, you know? Because it's like what I said before, like if you're not doing what you love, then you have to love what you do. Yes, boys and girls, that's the moral of the story today.
Yeah,
You have to love 7-Eleven, no matter how much you hate it.
I love 7-Eleven. I'm a big fan.
Are you?
Yeah.
Never really been.
I mean, I don't go often, but like instead of going straight to a bar or something, I would love to just like, especially when the weather's warmer, just grab a tall boy from 7-Eleven and drink on the street. Like that's like ideal for me.
Yeah.
That's coming from somebody who's doing dry January too. So Maybe I'm just thinking about it.
What is dry January? What does that mean? I thought it was alcohol. Mm-hmm. Is that what it is?
No alcohol.
Ah, okay.
But I'm also not smoking weed because I'm just like, I need some more challenge.
Wow. See, now that's impressive. It's basically sober October at that point, right? Isn't that what sober October is supposed to be?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Dry January. I didn't even know that was a thing until this January when I heard people saying it. See, that seems like a good idea. That seems like a good idea for anybody. I think it's nice that you can have a specific month because people kind of need like something to rein them in sometimes. One thing I noticed with comedy is that drinking is really common too. Mm-hmm. Like at these open mics and all this. I've never really been much of a drinker, but I do smoke weed. And even that becomes like, I can see myself falling into patterns. And I could see how if everyone around you was always doing it, and also it's so normalized, it's always like, oh, we'll have a drink before you go on stage, to loosen you up. Mm-hmm. And so that becomes its own thing. But dude, like that'll get you real fast. And
a lot of open mics will have like a 1 drink minimum too.
Yeah.
And so there's this one I go to, and the bartender does not like when you don't get alcohol. Like I'll get like a lemonade or something. He's like, this isn't a fucking forest preserve. And I'm like, but it's fine. He's funny. But like, yeah, when you have a 1 drink minimum, and I'm like, am I really like, but yeah, I'll just get like lemonade or something. So it's fine. And it's like $3. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
To not drink.
$3 is not bad. $3 is not bad. There's one open mic I go to where she told me it was going to be $3 because they said drinks are required. I said, I don't drink alcohol. And then she said, okay, well, it's only $3 for a water. So I'm like, okay, fine. And then I go to pay for it. $5. $5 for a water.
that you can't lie like that. What the heck?
You can't lie to me. You can't lie to me because I'm cheap. So now I'm looking at my $3 and I'm about to cry.
You always just gotta get a cup. Can I get a glass of water? But they can't charge you for that.
Drink minimum though. I don't think they would allow.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
They'd be mad.
You have to buy something.
Yep. See, I don't know. I find it to be odd that people think of alcohol and weed in the way that they do, because it's like it isn't normal. It's actually not normal. Like it would be the most normal thing you could possibly do is do none of it, but like it's so normalized in these communities that it's like, especially alcohol, because weed has become more like that. And weed people are weird about it because weed people don't think about it like a drug, and so they'll like, if you say that weed's addictive, and you could just test this, okay? Any Facebook post that says weed's addictive and then it's like telling you why, there will be so many comments saying like, dude, that's just you. That's just a personal problem, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, like that is exactly what the addict would say. But they don't see it. And it's the same thing with alcohol, but at least alcohol people are a little more aware. Like everybody kind of knows, this probably isn't great. Whereas weed's kind of having like its renaissance period. And so people don't really know. They got those blinders on, so to speak, And so, yeah, it just kind of drives me nuts because like, you need a dry January every now and then. You need something to like remind yourself what life is like without all of those things. And you need to get to know yourself. And
I feel like my memory gets a lot better when I don't drink.
Yeah.
Specifically. Yeah. Because I gave it up for Lent last year. I'm not like super Catholic, but it's a fun challenge, So I gave it up for like a month and a half or 40 days, whatever. And I just felt like so much more sharp. I feel like I like remembered my nights out. Like I love going dancing and stuff. I don't really need like jiggle juice or whatever you'd call it. And so I don't know. I was just like meeting new people and I was able to like remember what they were telling me. Whereas when I meet people and I'm drinking, like I'll lose facts like so easily. And then I'll have to ask them again the next time I see them. I'm like, and they're like, I already told you that. I'm like, beats me, man. I don't know what the hell you tell me. So
joke's on you. You're talking to an idiot.
I do wish I was still smoking though, because I feel like some of my premises for my jokes are funnier because they come from my high brain. So now it's a bit more of a challenge to write jokes almost because I'm like sober.
Yes. That's what I struggle with weed is I will find that like I'll smoke and I'll be like that creative part of me just wants to go, like and it can come up with random stuff. Whereas if I'm not that way, it's a little like I can still do it, but it's just different. It's not so like I think what weed is so good for is normally you think in this linear way. You think like from point A to point Z, whereas something like marijuana is going to make you start to zigzag and like go different directions that your brain would normally go. It's really a light psychedelic is what it is.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think alcohol quite has that effect. Alcohol just kind of loosens you up.
It's more numbing. It's
Yes.
like the opposite almost.
That's why I don't like it. I don't like that numbness. I would rather be like completely on than start to turn off. And so that's always been my philosophy towards it. But when I don't smoke, it's like I can still do it, but I can feel the difference. It's like there's just something creatively it's really good as a creative spark, but it can become a crutch real fast too, because then you just want to smoke. You feel like you can't write jokes without smoking.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh, I want to write this song, but maybe I should smoke first. Maybe it'd be better. And with recording music, I'll record music in here and I'll smoke first and I'll be like, damn, like I probably would have sounded better if I didn't smoke first.
Or just like in the same vein of you saying that like your mind goes in a bunch of different directions, like that's good for kind of an initial idea, but execution I feel like when I'm high is harder because I'll try to do one thing and then I'm like, oh, now I want to clean my room, I want to do something it's the distraction persists.
That's a great point.
So I feel like smoking is great for like ideation but not for follow through necessarily.
Yes, because it's like all of point A and none of point Z.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you have 10 different ideas on a page and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do now. Where do I start?
Afro Man, Because I Got High. That song is a religious experience.
I
for
love
me.
that song.
I heard that song, I'm like,
Okay.
it's so true. I heard that song when I was 8 and I didn't really understand it. And now when I hear that song, I'm like, wow.
Bars.
He understands.
This is my life. How does he know me like that?
But it's like, it's so easy to, like, Andrew Huberman, he's, you familiar with him at all? He's a neuroscientist. He has a podcast. It didn't used to be as popular when it first started, but now it's like huge. And it's so jam-packed with like information. And he did an episode on marijuana. And I remember one thing he said was like, it's kind of like what I just said, where marijuana, it'll make you think in a non-linear way. Whereas if you're not thinking that way, you're able to think more, like you could think more, I wouldn't want to say coherently, but it's like you can take all these different things and put them together. Like you're able to take different parts and blend them all into one. Whereas when you're high, it's not so much like that. It's more like you're just on like one thing at a time and you're just zapping back and forth between all of it. Like it's more of a, I don't know how to describe it. Like it's just a different way of thinking. And it truly is. And I don't know which one I prefer. Truly. Like it's hard for me because when I'm the same way, like what you described with alcohol, I could describe with weed. Like I'll stop smoking weed for like a week. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so effective.
Mental clarity. Yeah, I'm doing things. It's crazy.
I'm doing things and I'm getting them done.
I think balance is the best. I
Moderation.
really, yes, moderation and balance are like two very strong moral philosophy. I don't know if you
For life.
can call it. Yeah, absolutely.
For everything.
For everything. I'll try any drug once, Joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
There are some I will not touch. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Heroin definitely on the list though. Heroin, we're definitely going to do that at least once, okay? Just one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a no for me, but yeah, have fun with that.
It's a yes and.
That's on my. Sorry. Yes. No. Yes and no.
I feel like heroin would be, see, I have an addictive personality, so I know for a fact, if I were to even do like cocaine, that would screw me up. It would screw me up because I would be like, oh, that was so nice. That was great. I could do that over and over and over again. And that's why I could never do it, because I know for a fact that if I do it once, it'll get me. It'll get me. And
Yeah.
I like that kind of thing. I know I would like it. I have cocaine energy. So I just need to stay away. But like it is about moderation. It's about self-control. That's what life is all about, really. It's mastering yourself. But that is the impossible act of life. I think everybody's got their own things.
Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah, and having an addictive personality but you're also like addicted to music.
Yes.
In a sense, you know?
It's a gift and a curse.
So it's great for like when you really zone into a passion, but yeah, it can be a curse. And mine's, as I said earlier, like consistency, not really my forte, but in a way that like is also a gift and a curse, because like I don't have an addictive personality. If I tried drugs, I don't have to like do them again or whatever. Like I just get bored, I move on and stuff.
I'm
But
jealous.
also like when I do something that I'm really excited about, sometimes the follow through. I don't know, but it's different with comedy though. I feel like comedy is the first thing in my life that I'm like excited to progress in, and I feel like I am my own like I create my own deadlines and I follow through with them. Whereas like with work, with like I play guitar as well, and that's more on the side. Like I don't progress very much. I plateaued a long time ago. So it's exciting with comedy that I finally feel something that I'm like I can be consistent with, and I can like be my own. When I'm trying to like hold myself accountable without like necessarily any like drawbacks, or there's no risk really, I guess, but it's really just myself. So I'm kind of proud of myself that I'm continuing to actually, you know, the words aren't wording, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean though, because it's like you kind of need one thing to prove to yourself you can do it, and then you can start to do it in other parts of your life. Like that's why I like exercise, because it forces me to have a certain regimen that I need to follow, and then I do it and I'm like, oh, I feel better. And then I realize, oh, that's kind of like every other productive thing I have to get done too.
Yeah.
Once I do it, I feel better, and then I'm like, man, I'm glad I did that. But it's never something you want to do. Like nobody wants to do the dishes. Nobody wants to.
I actually like the dishes, personally.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Oh my God. All right, well, I got some dishes out there once we're
Well,
done.
not your dishes. I like my own dishes.
But I mean, like, yeah, it's you force yourself into the process, because even with music, like if I don't keep myself doing it, I will forget that I'm capable of it, and like I'll doubt myself. But then I'll write one more thing and I'll be like, oh yes, you still got it, you know. But you have to do it. You have to keep yourself
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
Deadlines are really like that would be the biggest takeaway I would tell people to have from that, is like give yourself deadlines, because you need them like, so bad. Because if you don't give yourself deadlines, you can just get away with not being consistent and floating through things. But in the end, nothing great ever came from not being consistent. It takes a lot of consistency to get anywhere in life with anything. It's kind of sad. As a kid, you think it's not like that. You think you can just chill. Not quite. Not quite. Your parents are a little more consistent than you think, folks. There's some consistency there.
Yeah, you start to learn that they made a little bit more sense than you gave them credit for.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, wait a minute. You did the laundry? Consistency is hard, though. And, like, deadlines. So, like, for this show, I tell myself an episode every 3 days, which is a crazy deadline. But that is what keeps me scheduling all these things, is I tell myself, I have to do it. I have to have people in here. I have to have people come through. And by telling yourself that, you do it. You make yourself do it. Like, what kind of deadlines do you give yourself?
So it's like going to an open mic. Like I need to have new jokes for this, because if I keep doing jokes that I already know are good, nothing's really gonna come of it. And I mean, maybe like networking, meeting new people. I hate the word networking. Meeting new people, I should say. But if I don't have new jokes, it's not like my comedy's gonna get any better that night necessarily. So my deadline for like I need new jokes for an open mic. And then if I have something set on the calendar, like an actual show that I know that I'm going to do and I want good, solid material for it, that's a deadline. I need to have a good set for that. I want them to be generally new jokes from my last booked show. And so they're soft deadlines, but they are deadlines.
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of forces you to keep making more. That's what's cool about that, is you're always making something new. I read, I can't remember where it was from, but it was talking about like having good ideas, and it was saying like I think it was the reference Einstein, and they said how like Einstein's best idea, the E equals MC squared, that was like his 150th research paper, but everybody remembers Einstein for that. E equals MC squared. He wrote 149 before that, and then he wrote that one. So it's like you have to keep doing it because you don't know which one it's going to be. You literally don't know. And the ones you think are great might not be, or they might just not have that traction. Same thing with music. Like you might think this is my best song ever, but nobody really cares. Whereas like the one that you thought was trash is the one that everybody likes. And so
Has that happened to you?
a little bit. Like there's been songs where I've released them and I was like, oh, this is the one. Like this is the one. This is so good. And then I release it and it's just gonna, oh, okay. But that's the lesson it's trying to teach you though, is like you just have to keep making more.
Yeah.
And it's also like about building a catalog too, because you don't even realize what you're doing as you're doing it. Like once you've done that enough times, you almost have a good 30 minutes. Like you have a good 10, you probably have a solid at least 15 minutes now from doing that for what you said you've been doing comedy for. You said when you moved, you didn't say when you started comedy.
I started in college, actually.
Oh, okay.
So we had a stand-up club, and I just joined senior year because my friend was the president. He kind of conned me into it. He's like, just come to one meeting. I had never thought about doing stand-up before. And I'm like, fine, I'll come. And then I went and I fell in love with it. And then we did like multiple shows that year at like pubs or just on campus. And then I kind of didn't do it much after graduation, but got back into it. I took a class at Second City. My mom got it for me as a gift. And the biggest takeaway from that was just to like get back into writing. And another thing I learned, well, first off, I had like a great mentor that was my teacher. She's so funny, Chelsea Hood. But she made me focus more on word economy and like shortening my jokes up, like tightening them, making them more sharp. Whereas when I was at school, I would just kind of blabber on and people would laugh at how I would forget my own things. So I started that was last April I took the class. But then I just started getting consistent with open mics in like August.
Nice.
So when people ask me how long I've been doing comedy, I usually say like a year and a half or something like total. But really in Chicago, it's been like 6 months.
Wow. And would you say that you have like 10,
4?
15 minutes?
Can't do math.
August, September, October, November, December, January, like 5 months.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Dang, probably about 6.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not mathing either right now. It could have been including August. But yeah, I could see how word economy, that would be a big one. That'd probably be you need mentors for stuff like that. You need people who have kind of know the ropes, you know. They've been in the hood, as we might say.
Sure.
But yeah, you need somebody like that who can give you the words you need to hear at that point in time. Because sometimes you just need someone to tell you exactly what you need to hear. Like you might have the right setup and you might kind of know, but it's just impossible unless like, that's why one thing I say about like college, like, I don't like the idea of paying thousands and thousands of dollars for an education, but it is really helpful to have a mentored like person, like a teacher or someone who's well versed in something that can give you the information rather than like this giant plethora of everything that is the internet. You can learn things on the internet, but it's a lot harder.
There's no direction.
Exactly. It's streamlined at a school. Or like if you have a mentor, you can say to them like, hey, so what do you think about this? And that's another thing that I think is really cool about the way that the community is. Like, especially, it seems like comedy is very communal, at least here. And so you get a lot of people who want to be constructive and help you and teach you, which is very, very helpful.
Yes.
Lots of mentors. Because you need those people. Like I think it's like you learn from other people's mistakes almost in a way when you do that. You don't have to make the mistake yourself and figure it out because someone else has the wisdom and it can tell you exactly what it is. Yeah.
As long as you're open to hearing it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so with picking back up in August, was that like a learning curve? Like, did you have to kind of readapt since you were starting to really do it? Like, did you find yourself kind of, I don't know what the word would be, not struggling, but just kind of adapting, you know?
Yeah, I would say so for sure. It was a bit of a different format, like going to open mics, testing jokes, whereas at school, like we'd kind of do pitch meetings and then we just do like 10-minute set or something like that.
What was it, when you say at school, like what was the format exactly? Was it stand-up still? Was
Yeah.
it the same thing?
Yeah, stand-up club. We would meet once a week, pitch jokes, kind of bounce around the room, like, oh, maybe you can add this, go this direction, or
Like a
just
writing
laugh
room.
or not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was actually really helpful. And then, but I would put together my sets and write new stuff like the day of,
Ah.
and like practice it. I'd write it all out, and I would know my set an hour before I'd go up. And then I would like practice it, and I'm like, okay.
Again,
And
the
I was always
comedians are
so
going,
stressed.
"Arr!" The comedians are getting really mad.
I was always so stressed, but then it always worked out really well. Part of it being though, it was like a super homogenous population of college kids that all had a shared experience. So when I came to Chicago, I definitely had to adapt to literally trying to get everybody now. I'm like, I have to be so about my personal experience that it's almost overarching relatable to everybody. Not relatable to everybody, but like
Universal.
a universal funny,
Yes.
you know? So you have to somehow understand where I'm coming from in order to understand my jokes, you know?
Yeah.
So it's different. It's more difficult, I would say, in my opinion. But it's also like now if somebody asked me to like do a show, I wouldn't get stressed. I'd be like, oh yeah, I have a repertoire. I have like a bunch of jokes that I know I can put together in a cohesive way that would be like a story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a learning curve there. But a good one. I like it. I just feel like more grounded a lot, I would say.
Yeah. Well, being in a city probably helps a lot. Being in a major city, because you get a lot of different culture that forces you to do that. You kind of have to be more universal. That's a good observation, because some people would probably be really good in one environment and then they take it somewhere else. Like even people I'll see in the city, I'll think like, man, that worked in here, but I don't know if that would work if you took that to Texas. I don't know if that would work if you took that to Florida. It worked in this room for sure, but would it work all over the place? And I think like that can easily be lost upon people, because you get lost in that. You get lost in, oh, well, I really entertain these people with these jokes, so I'm going to keep doing that. It's like now you're joking about the squirrels in your neighborhood. Like, no one knows what you're talking about if you go anywhere else.
You gotta read the room sometimes.
Yeah, or you just have to find a way to make yourself more universal, because it's like you can't take that anywhere else. You can only do it there. And like you have it forces you to be more creative, I would say, because like the more and more you do that process and go through that, you probably just find a way to like, oh, hold on, my mouse, did it die? Oh, there it goes. You probably find a way to like, I don't know, like, that's interesting. Because like, what was the material like when you were doing it there? If it was a homogenous group, what kind of stuff were you joking about back then that was different? Like, because it couldn't have been the same. Was it just like, hey man, like, we're all a bunch of high school, college kids. We're a bunch of college kids. Like, how do you guys feel about mortgage? Not fun, right? Probably be about the gist of the content there.
Yeah, different. I would just like, I don't know, I'd tell stories about like a certain dorm that I'd like spent the night in or something, and people would be like, what? It's like, I did one story joke about like this, like I spent the night at this guy's dorm, and then like a bunch of the guys from his dorm were there, and they were like, whoa, and they like freaked out, and then like told him that I had talked about it on stage. I'm like, I didn't like tell his name. People just knew from his side of the story. They like had heard the story. So it was so funny, because yeah, oh my god, it was basically like in the morning, his dad had come into the dorm for a game day. His parents had come into the dorm, and I was there. And then the dad like grabbed my foot in the lofted bed. I was in a lofted bed. He grabs my woman foot And then the kid sits up, and then he's like, "Who the fuck is it?" And the response was, "Your father." And I'm like, okay. So I sit up, and I like, "Hi, my name's Natalie," and I like shake the man's hand because we're caught, you know. And he looked so proud. Like I've never seen a more proud father. So
That's a good ending.
that's the gist of it. Yeah. And then I like talked about him. I like, saw him at a party like a week or two later, and he's like, "I heard you said this joke in front of everybody." I'm like, "Yeah." And he said that his dad still brings it up at like family parties and stuff. Like that moment that happened, and I'm like, "Oh my god." Anyways, so that's all to say that it's something that's like I could do that story, I guess, in Chicago and it'd be funny, but the fact that it was like, and in the specific dorm, people are like, "Ooh," now they're thinking about their own experience in that dorm. They're like, "Oh, I get it. Those guys are kind of like known to be fratty, like hyper masculine population." You know, so it's like,
They intimately understand the details.
yes, precisely. But I have like taken some like jokes that I did I went to Notre Dame, so it was at Notre Dame, and which is also just very homogenous in the heterosexual white person. You know, that's like most of the population of Notre Dame, unfortunately. So it's cool to come to Chicago and be more challenged into getting into different perspectives and catering.
Yeah, and it's so different. Like, it really is different. I just have to imagine, and everywhere is so different, though. That's what's so crazy about it. I have to imagine, as a comic, it'd probably be really good for you once you start traveling. You'd probably start to figure things out. Like, it'd probably be what you just described, but all over again. Because it'd be like, oh, all that stuff I was doing in Chicago doesn't work in all these other places. I thought all that worked, but it doesn't work. It would be weird, because it just has to be. Like, even just the way that you talk, like, you can't have the same attitude all over the place, especially if you're like a smaller comic. If you're a big comic and people know who you are, you could probably do whatever you want. But if you're going, say you're going from here to like Seattle, if you go to Seattle, Washington, I just can't imagine they're going to be thinking about the same stuff that we're thinking about here in Chicago. So it'd be, I heard one time somebody said, I can't remember which comic it was, but he's talking about advice he got from somebody. And you know what? I remember Sam Barry. He posted something on his Instagram story. I can tell I haven't been smoking because I'm remembering all these things. So Sam Barry put on his Instagram story that he was talking with his mentor and he recorded it. And what the guy's advice was when you go to a new town, like, talk to everybody and meet everybody and like become friendly with everyone that you meet. Like, if you meet a store clerk, talk to them, and then you meet another person, because then you get a feel for the town and you kind of know how people are thinking, which is like genius advice if you're doing comedy. Because of course you should do that. You get an idea for how people are here. Because otherwise, it's like you're just kind of going in blind.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I definitely like that. I'm going to keep that in mind.
That's smart, yeah.
Because I do like, whenever I travel to a new city, I'm like, I'm going to hit a little open mic here. Because I just like to broaden my horizons and just test it out and get like a cool photo, maybe, with the backdrop. Like, I went to New York in November, and I did a mic there. I also did like a booked show there, which was actually really fun. But the mic I had done, like, I wanted to do like my good jokes, because I'm like, I'm in New York, they've never heard these, so I did like some solid ones in my
repertoire.
Yes, exactly, in my joke book, and it went really well. Like, people were like happy with it. But
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty. I kind of killed it. But the host came up and he's like, "Wow, you like talk about sex a lot," and I'm like, "Dude." I guess I did have some dirty jokes in there, but like, I feel like in Chicago, people just don't bat their eyes for that. They're like, yeah, that's normal. But maybe in New York, they don't do like crass jokes as much, you know?
I don't know. They probably do.
Maybe it was just the mic that I went to.
Yeah, that guy's probably like, hey, like, there's kids in here. We're PG in here.
I guess people don't usually like, expect it from me either, just because, I don't know, my aura that I present isn't necessarily.
That probably plays to your favor, though. That probably helps. Because it's probably like, It's like people don't expect me to be a rapper. And so then when I pull it out, they're like, ah! They don't believe what they're hearing.
Yeah.
It's probably the same thing.
Definitely. I have to like wait to do like maybe like a dirtier joke until they start to like me though, because then I can surprise them more. If I start off the bat and just say something like heinous, they're like, okay, then they would expect it. So you definitely have to surprise the crowd. I think that's like one of the fun things about comedy is you have to like divert their attention or stray them one way, and then you're like, psych, I was thinking like this, and then they're like, hopefully they would laugh then. At that point.
The laughter thing pops up for the audience at that point.
I bring a sign to every show and I put it behind me.
Now you guys laugh. Just push the button. The sign lights up. That would. Can you do me a favor and yeah.
Bye-bye.
Oh yeah, gotta love the cat. But dude, that would be that. Well, that's kind of the idea of comedy. Is like it's all about misdirection. Like really, that seems to be, if you were to boil it down to like one element, I think it has to be that. It's like the unexpected. That's the art of comedy. And it's kind of like figuring out how to lead people one direction and then take them somewhere else that they wouldn't expect. Like how to get good at that. Because that's what most jokes are. It's like, I think I know where this is going, and then boom, it goes somewhere else. If I know what you're going to say, it's not going to be as funny.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't know. You have a lot of sexual jokes?
No.
Part of your repertoire? Was that like the greatest hits that you were bringing out from New York?
It was like greatest hits, but I've been trying to actually make my comedy more clean because my mom was getting upset with me. She was like, Natalie, I wish you would just like, because it is, sometimes it's like harder to make the cleaner jokes, so it's like more of a good challenge, and it's almost a cop-out to make them dirty, because it's like, I know it's gonna be funny, I know people are gonna laugh, but like, how hard did I actually work on this joke, you know? Which I think my dirty jokes are actually very clever, so, you know, I'm not trying to downplay anything.
But like low-hanging fruit, you don't want to be going
sometimes,
for
yes.
that.
Yeah. Like some comics will just, like, the joke is the dirtiness of it.
Yep.
And if they keep doing that and that's their whole set, it's like, okay, the surprise aspect is gone, you know? And so you want to surprise your audience always. And so my mom, not very happy with when I was saying all this jokes. And my dad comes to my sets too. And I sometimes have to be like, Dad, can you plug your ears for one moment while I say this next joke? Yeah, that usually gets the crowd, actually. They like that. But yeah, no, he knows way too much about me, unfortunately, but he is a great sport.
I always think about that with comedians because they'll say some things on stage and I'll think like, man, their parents are going to hear this. I think Shane Gillis said something like that when he was on SNL. I swear he like made some joke about his mom listening, like something about that. Because it is awkward. Like when you really think about it, that's all stuff you would never share with your parents normally.
Yeah.
You just gotta, they're supporting you.
You have to have no shame in comedy. Like truly, you can't have any shame because that's how you get the most like authentic jokes out, is to be so real.
Yeah.
Like I share everything. I'm such an open book, I feel like. I mean, there's definitely things that I won't say out of respect and things, but about myself, self-deprecation always wins.
Being an open book is another one of those things that I think it's the yes-anding thing again. I think it's really helpful in life to be an open book because you get to know yourself a lot better. If you're just honest with everybody, you get to know yourself a lot better. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, if you're doing something else and you're kind of playing a role, you start to kind of fool yourself even. And then you stop being that open book and you stop, like, noticing things about yourself, per se. Because when you share everything, you do end up saying some things that even surprise yourself.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I really did say that. I really did think
shit,
that.
I wish I didn't.
But it's a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse because if you didn't do that, then you wouldn't have all those other great jokes that you come up with that same exact mentality, right? I don't know. I think I'm too much of an open book sometimes. I'll tell you anything. I swear to God, it's kind of bad.
Well, that's got to come out in your lyrics too, right?
Exactly.
Things you think about. Like, do you write stuff down on like a bar, necessarily, or
yes.
do you just like sit down and write all in one?
It goes both ways. Sometimes I'll come up with like one thing and it'll stem out from there. But other times it's like it all just kind of comes into place with that instrumental, and it all comes from there. It really just depends, because I'm sure jokes are the same way. Like sometimes you have a great premise, and then it's like, oh, how do I make that premise work? But other times it's like you see the whole thing all at once. Oh, like you go from here to here to here. So it really just depends on what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's always there in the back of my mind. Yeah, it's always there, and it like nags at me too.
It's on.
Yes.
It's on.
Yes. Like I have to do it. If I get myself started, like if I were to look and I think like, okay, air freshener. So like, every time I rap, I swear I'm ahead of her. I'm going fast. I'm like a air freshener. I'm clean. Like, you know, and then I have to keep going from there and making up more shit. And then eventually it'll become this big thing. But it's that thing where I'll just allow myself to do it. I'll say anything, okay?
Yeah.
That's what freestyling kind of is. It's learning to do that, to just say whatever comes to your mind right there in that moment.
Which is hard because then you have to trust like your subconscious pretty much. And
don't say anything bad. Don't say anything
literally. I've been starting to dream again because I haven't been smoking. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Why are we thinking these things, you know?
That is one thing that, because we were talking about weed earlier, that's one of those things where I don't think people who smoke all the time understand, like, it does affect your sleep, like, so much. It's crazy. The first time I ever stopped smoking weed, I was in the middle of, like, my first big breakup. Like, I had, like, a breakup in middle school that was like, oh, I'm depressed, but I was in middle school. I didn't know what things were. And then leaving high school, it was like the girl I was dating in high school broke up with me. And so I was so sad. And I remember I stopped smoking weed, and that coincided with the breakup, so I couldn't sleep. And I was thinking, oh, I'm just heartbroken. And then like a year and a half later, I tried to stop smoking weed again, and the same thing happened. I'm like, oh my God.
Like you couldn't sleep?
I couldn't sleep. So I had insomnia.
Oh, because you had used weed to help you sleep.
Not even really, though. It's just I smoked so much. Like I'm the type of person where, because again, an addictive personality, I probably started smoking in like 8th grade and then just did almost every day for the rest of my life.
There you go. Okay.
It's crazy when you really think about it, because it becomes normal. But then you think back and you're like, damn, I was not sober for any of that, like none of it. And I think it's like it's residual too. So say you smoke for 5 days in a row and then you don't smoke until the end of the 6th day. You're still kind of high for most of that 6th day because it's all sitting there somewhere in your brain. It's not like the THC just completely clears out.
Yeah.
So what I'll have happen is I'll stop smoking. Like just last night, actually, I had messaged you saying, hey, I'm running I'm going to bed later than I thought. I didn't fall asleep until like an hour and a half after I sent that text message because I had that thing happen where I was like, okay, I really got to stop smoking for a minute. And so when I do that, I have to listen to my inner voice. I have to be like, okay, he's right. I really do got to stop smoking for a minute. Like, but what'll happen is I'll realize, oh my God, I'm like craving this. Like, I don't want to do what I want to do until I smoke. Okay, that's bad. I can't. Once I see that happening, now I know something's going wrong.
Yeah.
But the hard part is actually doing it. And what'll happen is I'll get like bad insomnia. I'll lay there for like hours, dude. Hours. And it's because, shout out Matt Walker, Andrew Huberman again. Andrew Huberman had Matt Walker in his podcast, and this is where I first heard it ever. And it blew my mind because he was basically explaining, like, the way that marijuana affects your sleep is the same thing as alcohol. It's the same exact thing. You think you're falling asleep well, and you think you're sleeping well, but really it's just helping you.
Because you can never hit, like, REM sleep.
Exactly.
And that's why you don't dream when you're smoking constantly.
Yep. And I wouldn't even smoke before bed. Like when you say like to help myself fall asleep, I would just do it throughout the day.
Yeah.
And even that would be something that would make it so I couldn't fall asleep, or when I did fall, or I would fall asleep, but I wouldn't dream, you know? And it's so bad for you, dude, because with your dreams and with your subconscious and all that, like it's really interesting to write your dreams down. I try to journal my dreams. They say that it's supposed to help with lucid dreaming, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I saw
Can you lucid dream?
Sometimes. And it's the shit, dude.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
it's fun
so
as
cool.
fuck.
I remember I was lucid dreaming once, and I thought, like, I want to fly right now, and then I flew, and it was awesome.
Bro, yes.
Yeah.
Flying
I
is
remember
so
what
funny.
it felt
I
like to
always
fly.
be flying.
When I was flying, I still remember exactly how it felt. It was like walking. It was like, okay, so I just put my hands up like this, and then I think about it, and I go.
Yeah. It's like, wee, floating. Shit's so fun.
It's the shit, dude.
It's so good.
But that can only happen if you're dreaming. If you're actually dreaming.
Yeah.
And I love dreaming. I love it so much. The dreams, that's the other part of it, is the dreams I would have when I stopped smoking, I want to say the second or third time, whenever it was, were so vivid. It was like more real than reality.
Oh, no.
Dude, I can't even explain it. Like, it made me want to go back to sleep just to experience that again. It was so crazy. I remember one dream I had, like, oh my God, like, it trips me out just thinking about it. Because it was so real. Like, it felt so real. And then I would have these dreams too, where it's like, I wake up in the dream, and then I'm in another dream, and then I wake up from that dream, and I'm in another dream, and I'm like in a dream loop of dreams, like Inception. Mm-hmm. That would happen a lot when
I've been there.
Yeah, but it feels so cool at the same time. It's like, whoa, what the fuck was that? Am I really awake now? Is this real life? Or am I still dreaming? Is this all a dream? Bohemian Rhapsody. Is this a dream or is this just fantasy?
Yeah, dude. Dreams are like one of the most fascinating parts of our existence, to be honest.
The
Like, as
subconscious.
humans. Like, truly. Because it's like, some people say that dreams are like your subconscious training itself for certain situations. But then I'm like, the weird shit that happens in my dreams, I'm like, am I really gonna need this as a life skill? Like, let's be real.
I have crazy dreams.
Yeah.
I write them down. I had a dream once where I had somebody in my couch. Like, I opened up the couch and there was somebody I was keeping in there.
No.
Like, what the fuck is that teaching me? What is that supposed to say? I
Have
don't
you
even
been thinking about kidnapping somebody?
know. I don't know what it could. Maybe somewhere in my subconscious I am. I don't know. Because I remember the dream ended. I put them in the couch, and they were in the couch. I closed the couch, like it's like the couch cushion. So I'm opening it up, and I'm looking. There they are. I close it, and then I'm gonna go take care of my groceries out in the kitchen. And as I'm taking care of the groceries, they come at me like they got out of the couch, and I'm like, ah! And that's how the dream ends. But that was a dream that I had.
Now you know, don't put him in the couch. Put him somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe that's the moral of the story.
Yeah, perhaps.
Are you familiar with there's Freud. Freud's the big one with subconscious, but it's also Carl Jung. Familiar with Carl Jung at all?
Tell me.
Oh, dude, Carl Jung is like, him and Freud are the ones where we kind of get all of our understanding of dreams and the subconscious and the way that we think about it now. It came from them, which is just crazy to think about, even because they're only 200 years ago. Before that, we didn't really think about this stuff. We just had dreams and had no idea what was going on. And even now, we don't really know. But I think one thing that Carl Jung was big on was archetypes and those symbols that we see in our dreams. And I think I started to read one of his books. I didn't get that far into it, but Man and His Symbols. That's like supposed to be a good entry point for his work. Because it's all kind of, if you're not someone who thinks that way already, it's probably even more mind-boggling. I've always kind of thought that way, so I can kind of get into it. Because I think everything is really about your subconscious. Everything is your subconscious exerting itself into the world. That's how all ideas happen. It begins here and then it comes out. And there's so much that's under the tip of that iceberg that you don't even see. And that's what dreams are. And that's what Carl Jung was saying, is that's your moment when you can kind of see how your gears really turn, because you can't see that in normal everyday life. You think you know yourself. You think you have yourself figured out. But your deepest and like darkest things come out in dreams. And it's like, you know, what do those things mean? And when you start to write that down and observe your dreams, you really do start to learn things about yourself in a weird way.
Really weird way. I'll tell you that, man.
Yeah.
So strange.
Yeah. Some dreams I won't share. Okay. That's where my limits go.
No, literally, it's like too much.
Like, why the hell?
Oh no, where is this gonna
I
go?
remember one dream. It was the weirdest shit ever. I looked inside the bathtub, and I swear to God, the hole in the bathtub was a vagina. Like, what the fuck is that? And in the dream, it made sense. I'm like, oh, that's that. And then I remember waking up and thinking, what the fuck? Why in the world?
Why do things make sense? Literally. Yeah. Or like dreams will like embed memories in your head, like of years. Like I'm in this certain role in life, like I'm a mother.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and I'm like, I'm not a fucking mother. I've never been ready for motherhood. I don't even have an animal. And yet, like I was so destroyed because my kid died in my dream, like during surgery. This happened after Trump was elected. So I'm like, oh shit, what does that mean? So yeah, it's like it's just so strange. I would love to learn more. I think there's like a technology in the future because technology be rapidly
I don't want to
progressing.
I don't want my dreams to
No?
be broadcasted. No, I don't
Well,
think they should
only
be.
for you.
I don't even think we want that really though. Like,
It's kind of scary. Yeah.
Would you really want to see your dreams?
Yeah, you know what? No, probably not.
Probably not. Like, you want a playback of that? Because I think where we're at now is, I can't remember what it is, but they're getting to the point where if they could read the brain waves, they can understand the thoughts, or at least like maybe they can see what you're seeing. I don't know. I remember reading about that not too long ago. Is that we're getting to the point where like if you attach the right stuff to your brain, we can actually see the activity that's going on while you dream, but it's still kind of hazy. We're not all the way there.
That'd be so spooky. It'd be like bringing a dead person back to life. And all those movies where they're like only half alive. So like if you do that to a dream, it's going to be foggy. It's going to be like all nightmares, I feel like. Which most dreams, like, do you, like, even if I have a vivid dream, it's usually not bright and colorful. It's still kind of dark and like, I don't know, like it's more of thoughts. It's like thoughts. You're not actually seeing light waves. It's like,
Yeah, which is, again, like so strange to really consider. Think about it this way. When you close your eyes still see. You're still looking in front of you, but you're seeing your eyelids.
you're seeing your thoughts, kind of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you dream, you are literally seeing your thoughts. You're seeing them play out, which is crazy. That's crazy to think about. You're literally seeing your ideas happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to see them. You're right. I don't want to see them.
I don't want to
That's
see
some
them in
Black
my
Mirror
waking
shit.
life. Yeah, that's a nightmare. That's Black Mirror right there.
Absolutely. There's probably like an episode like that.
Not yet. I don't think so.
There's an episode where you can see your memories.
Yep. Which, again, you don't want that either.
No.
No. You'd think you would. You'd think, oh, I want to think back to that moment when I was like 20 or 30. But I think the episode does it right because the way that they do it, they're like, oh, well, what's going to happen is everybody will have access to everybody's memories. And
Yeah,
then
I
that
think
goes,
the big thing was like replaying their like past like sexual experiences, and then it's like basically real porn all the time, and then it was like the destruction of humanity. Which there's so many ways it could go wrong, but that's the way that Black Mirror chose to.
that was what it was.
Take
Yeah,
that.
it was sexual. So yeah, if you could replay your memories, you'd probably get lost within your own memories, which is a great point. You don't actually want that. You don't actually want to be able to go back in time and all of that. It's like seeing your dreams. I think that there's a certain value to the way that we are created. Like the way that we work now, you don't want your whole subconscious. Like there's a value to not having access to all of that. You don't want, like with Neuralink. Neuralink's a big thing now. And they'll say, like, oh, Neuralink's going to be great because we're going to be able to communicate in this way where we can communicate through our thoughts. I'll be able to send a thought directly to you, and we both got a chip in our brain that's going to make it so you get the idea that I'm sending. And when I hear that, I'm like, why would you want that? In
I
what
think
world?
the only logical way that I would justify that is if somebody can't speak.
Well, that's how they're justifying it.
Yeah, but also it should not be for everybody. And I think I'm very against like having a chip in your brain personally, mostly because like yes, you can think like a computer or whatever. Not like we don't already have one attached to our hand every day all the time, but like I think that we need to train ourselves constantly as humans. We have to train our memory. We have to train like our reactions and stuff. So like first of all, your memory is not going to be organic anymore. It's going to be based on this chip. So if you ever remove the chip, you're like going to be freaking lobotomized pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's that, and then it's interacting with other humans. Like I feel like our social skills will die down because you're constantly overstimulated, which we already are
Yep.
as it is. So yeah, I don't know how much further this could even take us because we're already kind of so far gone. Anyways,
It's crazy because it's almost like people don't realize, like they don't want their humanity. Like, they don't want it. That it blows my mind. Like I am the opposite. Like if I'm with a person, I can't use my phone. I can't even touch it because once I start doing that, I get distracted. I'm not in the moment anymore. I lose it. Whereas like, and I can feel that happen right there, right then. It just happens. And I know that's real. And that wasn't a thing 25 years ago. When you got on the subway 25 years ago, everybody wasn't looking down, and now they are. And you can only take that so far before people just lose their humanity entirely. Because you start to detach from things. You start to not think about things as the here and now, because there's this whole world inside of this phone here that I could just access at any point in time. Whereas that's not what the reality has always been for most of our evolutionary process. Like, we're not evolved to do that. We're evolved to hang out with dogs and cats. That's what we're supposed to be doing. not like detaching from reality and putting a chip in our brain and knowing everything. We're not supposed to do that. And then the people who would bring that technology out and say that this is the next thing, they're like, oh, it's inevitable. No, it's not. You're the one saying it's inevitable.
That is my like least favorite. Like, it's gonna happen anyways. We might as well be a part of it. It's like, no, that means you're part of the problem. It's so frustrating.
And that's how AI is now too. There's
100%.
Yep. It's like, oh well, yeah, AI is not great, and it is going to be a big problem, but we got to beat China. We got to beat China because they're going to do it too. It's like, yeah, you got a point.
Race. I don't think we went to the moon personally. Not at the time we said we did.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't think so either.
I think there's discrepancy in the film that they created of the men getting
There's
on
like a moon mission a couple years later that I didn't even realize, and that one looks a little bit more real, but it's so crazy how fake the moon landing looks.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the astronaut was literally like filmed. It looked like he was in front of the like red target thing in the video film.
Yeah.
It's like the body was in front of it, which that's impossible. So I'm like, come on. And I saw a documentary where they like sped it up like 1.5 times, and then it just looked like a person running normally.
Yeah.
So like the jumping, it was just slow motion.
Yep.
I'm like, come on, what's wrong? This looks like.
And the problem is the space race thing. The fact that it was a political thing at the time. Like, when you place it in time and you contextualize it, it seems more likely that it wouldn't be real because we were in a competition with Russia, who's going to get to space first. And there's also the thing that people forget now, where it's like nobody really thought that would be on YouTube 50 years later because nobody knew what YouTube was. So when they broadcasted that, they were thinking, oh, well, this is going to be a one-time thing on TV. No one's going to really... Yeah, it's all fuzzy.
It's small little...
And that's another thing, is cameras weren't that bad back then. You could have had a better footage. Also, how in the world are they streaming from the moon to Earth? Like, there's so many questions. If you've ever heard about the Van Allen belt, I think it's called. I forget what it's called now.
No, Van Halen.
Van Halen belt, yeah. The Van Allen belt, I want to say, is when you're exiting Earth, there's a certain, like, a stretch of space where our Earth goes into the rest of space, and it's this giant radioactive area where if a human were to go through it, you would take in all these radioactive whatever, and then that kind of gets into you. It's not good for you. And I don't think there's ever really been an explanation on how they did it. Like, if you ask them, how did you, I think it's Van Buren belt. I don't know. But yeah, how do you get through that belt? Who knows? Who really knows? And they still, and also, okay, so we went to the moon those couple times. So why did we just stop? Like, what made us just stop? There's a guy who has been into the huge, like, the moon landing denial thing for a long time, and I saw his stuff like, when I was like 12, and he recently just appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it reminded me of him because I forgot about it. And he was on there talking about the why he thinks the moon landing is fake, and Joe Rogan handled it pretty well because Joe Rogan used to be big into the moon landing being fake. But this guy kind of comes off as like a snake oil salesman because he always says the same things. The guy who's saying the moon landing is fake. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt because there's also a big industry in that, in saying like, oh, well, the moon landing is fake and becoming that guy. And then you just start saying that all the time. Who really knows? It's kind of hard to tell. There's so much shady stuff, though. The fun part of me, I think it's Bart Seibel. I think that's his name. Dude, my memory is on point today, if that's what it is. But I remember seeing his videos when I was like 12, and he would go up to Buzz Aldrin, like literally, the Buzz Aldrin himself, and say, "Why'd you fake the moon landing?" And then hand him the microphone, and Buzz Aldrin, "Get away from me." And it's like, as a 12-year-old, I'm thinking, got him. But I'd like to think it's fake. I'd like to think that the moon landing is fake. I think that from the 60s onward, dude, there's so much crazy stuff where it's like, I don't even know what's real anymore. I like to think that reality just starts to cave in on itself right around the 60s and 70s. Everything just kind of becomes like a parody of everything else at a certain point. The moon landing's fake. Probably 9/11, we go to war, and then that whole thing is just like, okay, well, that probably wasn't good. Wonder where all that comes from. Like, everything just kind of starts getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I'm wondering what the next big thing is. COVID was like the last big one. We got another big one waiting for us, And like and that conspiracy.
The Terminator.
Theory, yeah, Terminator. AI Terminators. That's probably what it is. That's probably the next one. Man, shout out Christian Bale. Yeah. If you remember that Terminator movie where he had that freak out on set, you remember that?
Freak out on set?
Yeah, it was like one of the first, maybe not one of the first, but it was a big moment back in, like, it was a while ago, like 10, 15 years ago. And he was really mad. And he was like yelling at one of these people on the set, like, we're taking this fucking seriously. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like that. Big freak out. But
can't take you seriously like that, actually, because you have an accent.
yeah. If someone yells, I've always thought that like angry English people sound angrier than angry American people. Like if I say, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" compared to "What the fuck is wrong with you," it sounds so much madder. But yeah,
I don't think I'm as like intimidated,
Yeah.
But that's maybe some bias there or some prejudice. Sorry that I'm revealing.
Maybe my prejudice is coming out.
There was this just reminded me of a story of when I was on a train from the airport, the Heathrow airport to London, or I guess I was going to the airport, and this guy from Sussex, whatever you call it, he was like trying to get me and my sister to like stay in town another night to go out and get drinks with him and his friend, and they were like blitzed off a happy hour, and so they were like piss drunk pretty much. Or pissed is what they would call it there. And he was
just
like, he was like, come back with us, come hang out with us, in his like British accent, and oh god, and and then I was kind of like just laughing. I was like, this is comical, silly. Like we're not gonna delay our flight. He's like, I'll buy you a new flight tomorrow. I was like, yeah, okay. And so I just was like, no thanks. And he's like, well, then fuck off, you cunt. And I'm like, this is not real. Like, and then he was like, yeah, he hated us after that. I'm like, so silly. I love it.
You really lost a good one on that one.
Yeah, the one that got away, truly.
Fuck off, you cunt. Man, I had, being in Chicago, it's fun because I'm a server, and so I work in the South Loop, and you'll have people come in from all over the country, right? Or all over the world, I should say. And I had my first, like, Irish people just, like, the other day, just, like, a week ago, and they were real Irish. They were talking like this, and I remember I asked them, where are you guys from? They said, Ireland. It's like, yeah. It just, because I forgot that their voices really do sound like that.
I mean, it's awesome. It's so fun to listen to people speak in a different way.
Oh, yeah. Southern accents really get me. There's something about the Southern accent. I think it's kind of like it's exemplary of how they are. It almost sounds hospitable. It sounds hospitable.
Yeah.
It makes sense that they sound like that. I think Southern accents are fun. I think South American accents are pretty fun. Oh, what's another accent I like? I think, South African. those are crazy. You know, like that type of accent where they don't even sound like English anymore. But they're speaking English. But it's like English. I can't even do it, dude. I can't even do it. It's an art form to be able to talk that way. It's actually very unique the way that they speak. And I don't even know how that works. And that's probably, when I think about it, we all come from Africa and we all come from over there. Probably kind of starts with those. We probably all sounded like Bumbleclaw.
They are the default, and we're the ones with the weird accents, actually.
Yeah, we think we're normal, but we're not. Yeah.
Nobody's normal.
I agree with that. Nobody's normal. I think that's another thing that people ruin themselves with, is that idea that there is a normal. Like, you know, oh, I wish I had a normal family. Oh, I wish I was a normal person. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it doesn't exist. You're trying to attain something that's not there.
It's an ideal.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be nice?
I guess you can have your own normal, but God, how fucking boring.
You don't want to be normal.
No.
Yeah, that would actually suck. It actually suck to be normal. It'd be really, really monotonous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that normal is predictable. Normal is stable, which, you know, sometimes is a plus. But yeah, no, it's not exciting. It's not. No, it doesn't exist really. Not in my mind.
It would be. I feel like the joys of life often come from the things that don't seem like they would exude such a thing. Like, it tends to be those things. It tends to be those abnormalities and those intricacies of your life that make things so interesting. And you don't even realize it because you're so used to yourself. You think of yourself as this thing that you know, but like, everybody has this weird makeup. You know, it's fun to talk to comedians, I think, because comedians, there's always like something in them that makes them want to do that, which is a crazy choice to make. Like, oh, I want to do comedy. Of all things, to make that choice is actually a very interesting thing. And there's always some type of reason for them wanting to do it. Whereas, like, everybody's like that. Like the guy who wants to be a plumber. Like, why do you want to do that? And there's some reason in his brain that he likes doing it. Everybody's so different, you know? Mm-hmm. Nobody's normal. And that's cool. That's very cool. And it's often like figuring that out, like seeing the gears turn in other people's brains that makes you realize what makes you you. You know, nobody is quite like, we're all little snowflakes, folks. We're all little snowflakes. I'd like to think that, like, even like something like this. Once I was on mushrooms and I had this idea, I realized, thank you, that everything is curation. Like, everything in life, everything you do is what you curate. So this show and the people that I choose to have on is an act of curation in a certain way. The people I bring in and the things that we talk about is what I curate, and that's what makes it what it is. And like the songs I write, it's the ideas that I choose to curate and put there. It's like you're like almost like a tastemaker of your own things. You kind of create your own thing, and you don't realize you're doing it as you do it, but it's like an extension of you. It's an extension of your subconscious in a way. Mm-hmm. You see it play out in the real world, but that's everything. That's everything you ever do. Like a stand-up set is you curating your ideas from the last 3 months into one condensed 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. But that's crazy to think about it that way. But that's why we're all so unique, is because the choices we make when we curate, and somebody who's really good at what they do, really they're just really good at curating the right things, you know, bringing the right things to the right place at the right time and making sense of that. And that's everything in life all the time. Oh my God, when I realized that. Yeah. You ever do mushrooms before?
I have, yeah.
Yeah?
There's a statute of limitations, right? So, yes, I have. It's fun. I learned how to whistle when I was on shrooms for the first time.
I still can't do it.
I don't know if I can do it right now.
Yeah, gonna have to do it again. Gonna have to get the mushrooms again.
Go back to mushrooms, yeah. Very much. The tooth complicates things, the lack thereof. Yeah, I've done it a few times. It's always been fun. I haven't done like a ton of it in one sitting, but I like, you know, little spritzes here and there.
You ever weigh it or you just take it?
The last time I did it, I think I did like 2 grams and I weighed it, and that was like pretty perfect. I went to a concert That was so cool. It was like a jam band called Eggy. And they just like make up the music as they go sometimes, or they'll play whatever. It's just so fun. I kind of wish I was like on a couch though. Like I didn't need to be on shrooms to be at this concert because it was already like a spectacular experience. The shrooms were just like made me feel like I love life, man. I love these people I'm with. Like this is just a good time. But if I'm on shrooms, I would rather like have less of an activity. I think like be sitting, have some sort of creative outlet, like a journal. Like if you can write while you're on shrooms, you're saying you had like a profound realization. Like that's the stuff that you want to remember, you know?
Yeah. I like tripping by myself for that reason. Terrence McKenna, he's, if you ever heard of him, he's like one of the people who's really big in kind of the whole what is it, tune in, drop out thing. I think that was what he said. I don't think it was Terrence McKenna though. I think it was that era where psychedelics were kind of having their moment, and he would just do these talks. And he had once said, if you really want to experience mushrooms, do the dose that scares you, and then just turn all the lights off and just
Oh
be
my
by
gosh,
yourself.
I don't know about that.
Personally, I think that's good advice, but I don't think it's good advice for everyone. There's a lot of people who don't need that.
I think like just like weed, your brain reacts differently to drugs than the next person. So like some people don't like smoking because it gives them anxiety, but some people it calms them. So it's like really dependent on the person. Same thing with psychedelics. Like sometimes you can go down like a spiral of like questioning your existence if you have. They say to not do psychedelics if you have like unfinished business in your life or something that you. Well, I guess it's different because you could also take it to try to deal with something. Or you could take it because you want to be happy. The only times I've ever taken it, I feel pretty secure in like my life, so I'm lucky. But I can see where it can like make you rethink things. I don't know. I think that context matters. Your mindset matters. Personally, I just like to be outside in grass, like in nature. Like I remember one time I did acid, and it's like it was a similar experience to shrooms. But I was like really falling in love with weeds, like dandelions. I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for weeds. And the whole day I was like, oh my God, giddy. I'm like, oh my God, it's so silly. But I don't know. I think it's different for everybody. I personally don't think, this is a good question actually though, because the first time I ever did shrooms, I was in a tent. So I was camping. And like it kind of hit the most when everybody went to bed. So I was like laying in my tent, like, and I couldn't go to sleep because I had like neon cartoons under my eyeballs, and that's like just what happened to me, I guess. And I wanted somebody next to me to talk about it. I'm like, yo, I'm seeing like hippos turning into dragons. But like, I had to like wake up my friend next to me. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm seeing like these like neon shapes and stuff. And he's like, haha. I'm like, come on, I need to like. I'm a very shared experience type of person. I think I wouldn't want to be alone.
Wow, that's interesting. Because I'm the exact opposite. Like I feel like what would happen is I see these hippos and I want to share it, but the moment I try to share that, it just is lost in translation.
You sound like a crazy person.
Yeah, like you're not gonna understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and also I think that's one of the reasons I like to do it by myself is because it teaches me that thing about like individualism and how incredibly unique your experience is. Like it's the subconscious. I think what psychedelics ultimately do is reveal your subconscious to yourself in the waking world, which is crazy when you really think about it because there's all kinds of things that can come out of that. I think my thing about like people who don't react well, I think it's more about people who are closed off, people who are tight and they kind of are rigid in the way that they think. You'd think that those people could benefit from something like that, but then they do it and they have a spiral because they're so tight and rigid that they start like they're in this state of mind where they're not thinking in their normal format and it scares them. Whereas other people are a little more loose and other people are a little more open to new experiences. And those people are probably the better off ones.
The open books.
The open books, exactly. Because then they'll allow themselves to go through all of that. And it's almost like a cathartic moment for them. And I think that when I'm with people, I experience this thing where it's like, but it's like how I can't use my phone if I'm with somebody. I'm tailoring my experience to you in such a way. I know you're here, and I don't want to just like do what I would do if you're not here. I'm experiencing you while you're here. And so if I'm tripping with somebody, I'm going to want to like be with them, and I'm going to want to like talk with them and like keep things moving. Whereas really what I should be doing is going inward and seeing what's happening and understanding that. And I think like, I think it's really like journaling, like you said, it's really, really valuable to catch those thoughts when you have them in those moments, because some of my most profound moments have been there. One of the other things that I found out while tripping, I'll never, ever forget it. It was, I just thought about it and it clicked in my brain. I was like, oh, so my purpose in life is to shine light upon other people. Like I have a gift that allows me to do such a thing. I am able to allow other people to shine because I can shine. And if I don't utilize that, then I'm squandering my entire purpose of existence. Like that is something that's within me that is, and the thing about when you're in this state of mind too, is that you know, when you have normal thoughts, because there's plenty of people probably who've never tripped before, they've never done a psychedelic before. And I say weed's a light psychedelic because it is. It's like experiencing this in a light form, where that idea that you had is so real. It's the most real thing ever. Like when I thought this thing, I knew it so vividly that I could never ever forget it. It's like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And stuff like that. You have to be able to catch those ideas, because you don't realize how fleeting it is. Like how it's here one second and gone the next, you know? And that's, again, all of life.
Well, that happens with jokes, too. That's why you got to write it down.
Yep.
Well, I write that down.
Lyrics. You know, I'll write lyrics at work, and I'm always paranoid because, like, sometimes I'll get, like, my notepad wet, and I'm like, man, if this got wet, I would lose all this rap. So I'll take a picture as soon as I'm done, just in case.
Yeah. That's good.
But you got to write ideas down. I have so many ideas on my phone that I worry about, too, because I don't always write it on like a physical piece of paper. And really, you should, because paper you can keep. The phone, like, who knows? Anything could happen. If your phone breaks, your SIM card just corrupts or something.
Yeah.
All those notes are gone. I have so many notes on my phone, like whole songs just sitting there on my notes app on my phone.
You gotta back it up to the iCloud.
Well, I don't think there's I got Android. I think it's like
Or Google Drive or something.
Google Drive. Yeah. I gotta find a way to solidify this stuff. Do you write your stuff down on paper or on like a phone?
Both. I'll put like initial ideas on my phone just because it's always on me. But when I try to flesh something out, I'll write it out on paper. And then when I have like an actual show that I like have to write out a whole set, I'll type it in a Word document, print it out, and then like practice it that way.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because it's very different for everybody.
Some people love to do like the physical thing. Like old school people, that's probably the way it is. It's probably how it is how it used to be. You didn't have a phone.
Only option, yeah.
Yeah, you had a notepad. I don't know if you've seen, Mark Norman, I'm sure. No?
Yeah, I'm like so bad with names of people.
Oh, he's a pretty popular comedian, but he has like a stack of notes that he'll keep in his back pocket at all times, like every time he has an idea, to the point where it's like fucking up his back. 'Cause he's sitting on his jokes all the time. Yeah. But that's an old school way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Just have literal like notes. I remember one time he pulled them out on a podcast and they were making fun of him like it's the Dead Sea Scrolls, because it's like a bunch of tattered pieces of paper. But yeah, you got to capture ideas though. You really do. And like, you never know. I think it's interesting too, because I think one thing that psychedelics teach me as well is how the present moment is it's so easy to find yourself outside of that. And again, like I think with phones and with all these things that we can use to distract ourselves with and exit ourselves, it makes it harder to look inward and to experience yourself and to be present. And that's what like Buddhism was trying to tell people way back then, is like what you're not doing is living here right now. We learn to live outside of ourselves, and then we just do that all of the time. And something like that, where it's so in your face, it forces you to realize, like, oh, like that's why I don't like. I can't even imagine doing like LSD at a party. Like, that sounds like a nightmare to me, because I would be so in my own head. I'd be like standing there in the corner. I couldn't. But it's because I'd be within myself. And I think we all need to learn to do that. That makes you more human. That's what meditation is supposed to be, is to learn to be with yourself.
I agree with everything you just said. Is LSD more like acid or Molly?
LSD is acid.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, people definitely forget to live in the moment. And that's like the modern age of like everybody being riddled with anxiety. It's because we're worried about the future or like something that we did in the past. But like, you're not gonna feel any anxiety if you just like are sitting, you know, and you try to forget. Like you literally, it's, you know, easier said than done, 100%. But yeah, living in the moment, and that's the happiest moment, and is when you are there, you know, and that's when your memory is the strongest because you try to like, I need to take this in, whatever.
And dogs and cats know that. And animals know that. Animals live in the moment. That's what they do all the time.
Chilling, straight chilling,
big chilling. And that's what they like. I think it's kind of like there's this Buddhist saying, what does the cow think? Like what like it would be like, you know, if a cow is hungry, what does it think? And the answer is,
let's see, right?
Moo. The answer is moo.
Oh, okay.
But like, to me, what that says is, it's not like, as a human, you think of all, like, you overcomplicate everything and you think of all this extra stuff, when truly what all of that stems from is a basic instinctual thing. Like, everything starts from those basic instincts. And like, animals are so in touch with those basic instincts. Whereas again, like, we learn to live and think about the future and think about, oh, I'm anxious about this, or like traumatic experiences. You get caught up on stuff like that. Oh, I hate that this thing happened to me. And it takes you outside of that moment. And when my dog's going for a walk, he ain't thinking about anything else, you know? Like, I'll think about like, oh man, when I get home, I got to do this, this, and this is what I'm thinking while we're walking. He's just thinking like, hell yeah, dude,
Yeah,
this is great.
100%, yeah.
All he's thinking. Like, oh man, there's a dog over there. Let me smell his butt. That's his whole existence.
I think that same thought often.
And that's what I think as humans, we could benefit from thinking more like a dog. I really think that. But it's hard to do so in practice. That's kind of the art of it all, the art of self-control, right? You have to learn to hone yourself in and not go all over the place. And again, that's kind of where marijuana can fuck me up, dude, because I'll go all over the place and I can't just be chill right here, right now. I'll be thinking, oh, I could do this and this and this and this and this, a million different things. And then I just lose what I'm doing right here, right now. It's so easy to lose that, you know, or like anything in life, you know, you just get caught up in stupid stuff, and you see it with all kinds of things, you know. I think people think superficially a lot of the time. They think about things that don't really matter. And then they ruin themselves over things like that. Like, oh, what is so-and-so going to think about what I say? I'm like, really? Who cares? Like, does that really affect you? Probably not. And it never really will. But it's all of these things.
It's only affecting you because you are letting it affect you.
Exactly, yeah.
Otherwise, it's an arbitrary... It's literally, you're making things up. People make things up. That's what anxiety is.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
your brain making too many things up all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one thing to like settle yourself to be prepared for the future, but no, it's not usually the case
Yeah.
in these days, I suppose.
And I think like it just makes me sad, because I think like a world where people were less concerned with things like something like that would be a better world. Like a world where everybody puts the shopping cart away would be a great world, you know? But instead, we're thinking about all of the 10 other things we have to do that day. We can't go put that shopping cart away, you know? But it's like those little choices you make are really the moments in life that matter the most. Those things that you do because you made that choice, because you chose to be present and do whatever the right thing was, you know? And whatever the right thing is for you is not the right thing for somebody else, you know? You have to like get to know yourself and curate your own experience in a way.
Yeah, well, that's why art is so awesome. Like, however someone makes their own art, like whether it's comedy, music, a physical piece of art, there's really like no way to not be in the moment when you're
Yes.
actually really creating art. Like when you're like, if I'm fleshing out a joke, I can't even be thinking about. I mean, I guess I have to think about like presenting it, but other than that, like you have to lock into your. It's like the one time that you can really like, you're doing something, you're making something, you're projecting like all that you are in that singular moment. So
I always say that like the way that my brain is, like it's very hyper focused on whatever I'm doing. And it's a gift and a curse. Like I'm so thankful for it because it allows me to do exactly what you just said. I can hyper focus on this one rap that I'm writing in this one moment. And I want to make it perfect. And I want to make it exactly what it needs to be. And when I'm doing that, it's like I'm completely zeroed in on that. That's what we got to get done right now. Whereas, like, I can't think outside of that. I can't think of anything else because everything else, if I do that, I lose whatever this is. And then that thread kind of gets lost. And it forces you to be present in a way that you wouldn't be otherwise. Yeah, like people who paint, I'm sure it's the same thing. I'm comedy for sure, like writing a book for sure. You force your brain into this like linear process where we have to finish this. I have to go all the way, and also it's like you have to make it as good as it can be. Like if you're committed to that art form and you want to represent yourself in the best way possible, you are really going to think about it. You're not going to half-ass it. You're going to go all the way in. And that's a really, really valuable thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, man. I got to pee real quick, but yeah, I'll be right back. And we're back, folks.
woo! I said so many heinous things about you.
Did she really?
All mean.
What'd
Yeah.
she say?
I can't repeat them.
Oh, man. I didn't know that she felt that way. She doesn't share that with me. She must like you.
Yeah.
Kind of upsets me. But at the same time, I'm glad that she feels comfortable, you know? I feel like if your pets talk crap about you, then that's a you problem, right? Like if your pets are talking crap about you behind your back, then you probably are pretty bad, you know? Like if anybody's talking crap about you, you don't want it to be your pets. So I have to do some mushrooms to evaluate. I'll talk to the cat on mushrooms. She'll respond.
Is that
Oh yeah, it does that. Sometimes it's got to give it a little click. But yeah. With comedy, what is it exactly that makes you like? What draws you to comedy exactly?
It's a good question. I guess, like, you know, when I'm just hanging out with my friends and family, like, all my friends and family, I feel like are funny. So I kind of feed off their energy. And, like, when people laugh, it's just, like, one of the best feelings because I love laughing. I think, like, experiencing art is, like, just as rewarding to me as creating art. Because I love supporting other people that are doing like their own version of the same arts or whatever. So I love laughter because I love the feeling myself of laughing. And so when I can bring that to other people, it's like there's no better feeling because I know that, well, besides the feeling of laughing myself, but I'm there too. I'm pretty much laughing at my own jokes as well, or trying not to. Or I knew that I laughed at it at one point, and that's why I put it in my joke set. So yeah, I think it's just like the feeling of knowing that I am aiding in some joyous, what's the word? Cacinate? Cacinate is
Never heard that before.
It's a word that I just discovered. It just means to laugh loudly.
Cacinate?
Cacinate, yeah. It's kind of like a weird word. But I learned it because I'm building a little website for myself. Just to like put all my upcoming shows, my social media and stuff, and like so maybe I can have like a QR code that's like everything's in one place. And I'm also a web developer by day trade. So it's a good
That's
kind
your
of
remote
mix.
job right there?
Yes.
That's the one?
Yes. So I literally build a website for a music company. And so I want to like hone those skills. And I wanted a name for it. And so I'm like looking up words that are like related to comedy, laughter, whatever. And I found cacinate, and my name's Natalie, so I'm like cacinat. What? So, anyways, a little plug there. But yeah, I think it's just like the making people laugh. It's just like it's so fun. I feel like I can't really do it justice with more proper wording because like it's just fun. And I think like there's nobody in the world that's like, no, I don't like to laugh, you know? Not even Scrooge. I feel like he laughed a couple times in that movie.
Shout out my boy Ebenezer.
Ebenezer, man.
Yeah, someone once asked me if you could have any superpower, what would it be? My instinct was to say to control people's emotions, and they had responded with, "Wow, that's kind of what you do with music." And it's like, whoa! And it's the same thing with comedy. It's like you're kind of learning to control the emotions of an entire room. You're like a cult leader for
Oh my
10
gosh.
minutes.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And people
you're
are
good at it.
listening.
Yeah.
People have to, kind of.
And that emotional control is like, it's like a superpower. Like to be able to make people laugh is like a superpower if you can do it consistently. Because I think laughing is cathartic. I think like life is naturally tragic, and there's natural, like it's not as if life, you grow old and you wither and you die, and that's life. And there's not like a beautiful rosy picture. And so when you can put joy on top of that and like allow people to forget all of the terrible things about life, like everybody can put all these things aside. Like again, with what we were saying before about you're thinking about all these separate things all the time, you stress yourself out. I think when you can go to a comedy show and just laugh, there's something beautiful about that. Like we can put all that aside and just have a good time, you know? And that's what laughter is just allowing yourself to enjoy the moment rather than whatever else, like freaking out about whatever it could be. And also, I think comedy allows for you to take topics and things that people might not see as joyous or funny and make them funny. And that is also cathartic because you can introduce a new perspective to things in such a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think comedy is a lot more of a spiritual exercise than people realize because of those elements. Like because it really is something greater than just like silly dick jokes. It really is more than that. But we don't want to think about it that way because that's kind of confusing. But it really is more. Like again, with the subconscious, it's like there's something subconscious happening when a bunch of people go out to a show and they all just have a great time. It's like, and when you leave a comedy show, you probably feel really good about it. You're like, man, I made all those people laugh. That feels really, it introduces purpose to your life. And it's just nice. It's the same thing with music. I think comedy and music are very similar in a lot of ways, and that's one of them, is that it allows you to experience this thing in full without all of these separate things going into it. And like you said before, like it's all one thought process. Like it's you for 10, 15 minutes just telling your jokes. Where like I heard I think it was Stephen Wright on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about how taking yourself out of the like there's a difference between making jokes in a conversation with your friends because there's all this extra stuff going on. Like we're at a restaurant and I'm making a joke, but it's like, oh, there's a server
Context.
there. Context, yeah. Whereas if you're on a stage, it's just you. It's the only context is you, and that completely recontextualizes everything. And that's like what you said before about like word economy and timing and all of that. That's where all of that really comes into play, because it's not just being funny with your friends anymore and bringing joy to your friends in this everyday conversation. Now it's like, how do I transmit that into this experience of being in front of 30 people at an open mic? How do I make these people laugh? And it's completely different. Yeah. Do you find that when you're doing comedy, you like do you have a certain persona you adapt, or like do you find that you like, how different is it from your everyday personality, I would say?
I don't think it's that different.
No.
I will say that, like, I definitely feel better and feel like a show went a lot better the more myself I am, or the more like loose and comfortable I am in a room. Because there have been times where I know my jokes really well and I've just said them like as I know that they perform well, like I know where the laughs are and stuff like that. But I just feel like it doesn't work as well without like my particular mannerisms, my like, you know, I don't know. I feel like I feel like I am very me. I'm not like super in it. Like my voice is kind of monotone sometimes, I would say, but like not on purpose. It's just like how I talk. So I think my persona is just me. That's the best answer that I can give. But the more me I am, the better the jokes are, 100%.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. And being yourself on a stage, isn't that a lot of it? Isn't that probably like where most, I think that's kind of where a lot of people probably struggle at first, is just being yourself, or at least learning how to be yourself properly, right?
Because and have people like you. You kind of have to be liked when you're up there.
Yep.
You gotta like reel people in, make you, but that's like also with self-deprecation kind of makes people like you more in a weird way, like when you talk shit about yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you gotta do it tastefully for sure. You're not gonna say heinous things about like a certain population and get people on your side, but there's a way.
There's a way, yeah. The self-deprecation. I think it's also like I think self-deprecation is probably a sign of maturity, honestly. If you can look at yourself and laugh at yourself and make fun of yourself, I think that you are probably better off than the person who can't do so. And people identify with that because they're like, oh, they're not taking themselves too seriously. Like, we can all have fun here.
Yeah, it's weird. You think like a very insecure person would like not, like insecure people don't self-deprecate as much because they don't want to like bring that out, because that's actually like, they don't want to joke about it because it's real. But
yeah,
you know, it's almost weird that insecurity is like rooted in narcissism, because you're thinking about yourself so much that you're like thinking that everybody else is also thinking about you that much, you know? But really, everybody's thinking about themselves. Nobody's thinking about you. Or I mean, I guess when you're on stage, I guess people are thinking about you.
No, but even then, they don't care. Like if you did something stupid on stage and like you obsessed over that for the next week, dude, those people forgot that within 20 minutes.
Yeah,
they don't have time for that. Like again, everybody's got their own life. Like we got all this other stuff to worry about. We don't care about it. That's one of the sad truths of life in general, is nobody cares about you as much as you want to think they do. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Like you really don't. It's great. Like think about how much you think about, like the things you think about in your everyday life. You're not obsessing over that thing that guy said 20 minutes ago. It's like when I'll say goodbye to, it's like when you say goodbye to people and you say bye, but you're like, oh, that was awkward. Like the way that I ended that interaction was awkward, and then you obsess over that. They did not care about the way that you said goodbye. They did not care at all. But we're just our biggest critics, and it's a gift and a curse. It's good and bad. You should criticize yourself to an extent because it's how you get better. But at the same time, people torture themselves. And that's interesting to put it that way, that insecurity is rooted in narcissism, because truly that's what it is. It's like you're obsessed with whatever that version of yourself is that you want to be. Like, who says you have to be that other than you? Nobody. It's hard to let go of certain preconceptions like that, though. Like, I think that's why therapy is what it is, because people get caught up on their own thought processes. Like, they have to have someone break them out of it sometimes. Yeah. And maybe your version of therapy isn't talking to a therapist. Maybe it's writing jokes. Maybe it's listening to music. But you have to have things that break you out of your own thought patterns. Yeah, because we will torture ourselves. I think we're all narcissists a little bit. I think everybody's a little bit of a narcissist, whether or not we want to admit it, you know?
Oh, but yeah, 100%. I mean, I tell jokes in front of people, and then I'm like, I feed off of their laughter.
Look at me, laugh at me, laugh at me.
It's really...
I think that's another thing that's interesting about comedians, too, is that, like, there's a different type of thing that's happening there, where it's like you want people to laugh at what you're saying. That is different than going out and like writing a book or writing music. Because even music, I don't need you to react. I know what the song is. I know what it is. Whereas like comedy, you are working for reaction.
Yeah.
You need it or else. Yeah.
Or else.
It's actually a painful experience if you don't get it. But at the same time, if you're able to like let go of all that and not torture yourself, you can just objectively look at your own. You can be like, oh, they didn't laugh at this and this and this. Maybe I just need to change something here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what you learn when you go to this many open mics. You're like, when people say like you bomb as comedian, it's really just like you need to workshop those jokes. You know, it's like bombing isn't really a thing. I feel like in the sense that it's usually perceived, unless you were just like shouldn't be a comedian, I guess. Which it's not for everybody, I suppose. But bombing every once in a while is basically just like trying jokes for the first time, and you know they didn't go the way that you had hoped, and okay, cool, there's more work to do. It's almost more exciting because you're like, okay, I have these ideas still, we gotta switch them up.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta flip the page.
And it's almost like the audience is the one friend that won't lie to you. They won't fake laugh for you. They won't. They will be brutally honest with you, you know? And you can almost think about it like its own person. Like if you're telling jokes to an audience, it's its own human being. And if you're trying to make them laugh and they don't laugh, you have to learn how to make that person laugh.
Yeah.
And they're being honest. So I would even say, with what you just said about bombing's not real, with mushroom, I don't think a bad trip is real. I think a bad trip is your subconscious trying to show you something, and you perceived it as a bad trip when really you could have taken the information from that and learned from it. And it's the same exact thing. But it's like, that's the point of it. You have to go through these negatives in order to grow in life.
Yeah.
Hard as it sounds, you have to do it. You have to bomb
Yeah,
sometimes.
because things aren't fun unless there's like the opposite, you know?
Exactly, yeah. You don't appreciate those fun things in the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Like those times when you go up there and you kill and everybody laughs and you had a great set, you wouldn't even know what that is if you did it all the time. If
Yeah,
every
no.
single time you went out there and you did that, it'd be like, oh, that's just what I do.
And you would
That's who I am.
expect it, and then it wouldn't be as funny.
Then you bomb and it's like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You gotta bomb and I think that's also like why comedians get so into that consistency. I think that's where that comes from. And I think I really respect it about them because that's not common for a lot of art forms. You don't really see that all over the place where people just force themselves in front of audiences and constantly chisel themselves into this thing.
Whoa,
You
chisel.
don't see it. Yeah, because it is kind of like that. It's like you
Yeah.
have this giant block and then you're
I agree
chiseling
with
into
that.
it.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll be a beautiful piece by Michelangelo himself, but you won't be right away. You gotta chisel away and bomb a
it
million
takes
times.
time. It takes getting out there.
Takes tears.
Yeah, sometimes, man.
Did you ever have a particularly bad set that like, sticks out in your mind?
Yeah. So I was in a one-liner competition last fall, and I kind of just chose the wrong joke to start with, because it like what I said earlier. You kind of get the crowd to like you a little bit first. You can't really do that in a one-liner competition. So yeah, I kind of chose the wrong joke and didn't really. I got out in the first round, and it was really discouraging. I was like so excited for this like big show. It was like my first time at the Den Theater, and I was like, just like I made all my friends buy like expensive tickets with 2 drink minimums and stuff, and they were like, oh, I gotta buy this just to go see my friend tell one joke. So that was a bummer, and it was like fine when I walked off the stage because I was against. Well, actually, I think what discouraged me almost the most was because I didn't even understand the joke of my competitor. Like, I tried to get it, and I'm like, I don't really get what she's trying to say. Because I think it was, like, a reference to something I didn't understand. And then we tied, and then she won initially. And she's funny. I talked to her afterwards. She's cool. I'm like, that's awesome. But, yeah, it was discouraging. And then as soon as I, like, went off, my sister was like, you should have done this other joke. And I'm like... I was like, it was just like all bubbled up, and I'm like, no, why would you say that to me? I know. It's like, it It was a bummer. But there were like so many comics there, and like half the people got out in the first round too. And there was a lot of like comics that had been there for like in the game longer than me too. So it was kind of something silly to get discouraged about. But in the moment, I was like really bummed.
Those competitive ones have to be pretty devastating because there are a lot of those like competitive types of comedy events. Like there's something called the Gauntlet, if you've heard of that, and I think Amy Simon puts it
Is that
together.
the one on Fridays?
Yeah.
I've heard of that. I haven't gone yet, but I actually do want to check it out.
It seems cool.
Do they have music too? Am I tripping? Or is that
I
a
don't know.
different thing? Okay,
if they have music, you'll see me there. Yeah, if they allow me. I'll go up there.
not open mic music, like just a live band or something.
Oh,
Sorry.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. No, it depends on it. Like, there's this one competition that's not horribly far from here, I don't think. Well, it's like on the top of Wrigleyville, called My Buddies Take a Shot. And
Heard of that.
yeah, so they do like every Sunday night, they do a competition mic where like the 3 top people go to the finals at the end of the month, and then there's one winner of that. And I actually won that last month.
Woo!
What? Yeah. Then it was so I like did not expect to win. There was like really, really talented other comics that were really funny as well. So that felt great. But I have done other competitions. Like there's this group called Vouch that does auditions, but it's like you get 3 minutes. It's 50 comics in the night. And by the time you get up, like people don't want to laugh anymore half the time. Like people
50
are
comics?
50 comics, 50, and you're in a bucket, and then they put the list online, so people will leave and then come back for their slot. So there's not really an audience, and I've just been discouraged from those because like I'm a comic. I want people to laugh. If people laugh at my first joke, I'll feel better about my next joke. But if nobody laughs at any of my jokes, then I'm like, I don't know how I did. Like I didn't really get into my persona per se because like my persona is somebody that has laughs. Like I have a laugh track. That's like part of it, you know?
You got to bring that laugh button again, the
Yeah.
sign.
So I don't even know if I've done well at those things or not. I know that I haven't won them because I haven't. But it's tough because also like just at like longer open mics in general, people get tired. And I get it. Like you have to pay attention to so many people. Like comedy is different from music in the sense that like music you can just like dance, you can let go, you can maybe talk to somebody on the side, have a drink. But comedy, you have to like try as an audience member. You have to lock in. You have to like pay attention. And maybe it's just this is coming from me who kind of has hard time paying attention sometimes. Like my mind goes in and out. Like it's hard to like focus on one thing. But yeah, when you're at a comedy set, you have to like rely on your audience to kind of put in the work too a little bit.
Yeah.
And when they're not, it it hurts a little bit, you know? Like it stinks.
Yeah. Because you can only, like, you feed off of that. It's kind of what I was saying before about comedians need that, or as a musician does. It's the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I can get away with it, whereas you, like, are like, wait, what just happened? Like, was it me? Was I the problem?
Yeah, like I could do the same, like if I do the same exact third joke and my first 2 jokes get laughs, my third joke's automatically just going to be presented better because I'm going to have better energy.
Yeah.
But if the first 2 jokes don't go well, then I feel like it just kind of dies down a little bit. And maybe that's, you know, that's obviously something as a comic you got to work on to avoid that and be like, yeah, people don't laugh at this. I still want to give my best for every other joke. But yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. It's just like, it's just tougher when people don't laugh.
That and, like, too, one thing I noticed is that I feel like these open mics you go to, your audience is just naturally different because it's mostly comics. So when you're performing for mostly comics compared to a casual audience, they're going to laugh at different things than the casual audience. Well, the casual audience is probably easier. They're more forgiving. And,
No,
you know,
100%. And they pay to be there, so they're going to pay attention.
Yep.
No, when I have book shows, it's like definitely more laughs. And I think any comedian can say the same thing. Just because people pay to be there, so they want to get their money's worth, pretty much.
Yeah.
And even if they don't pay to be there, they're there for the reason of watching you, not to go up and try their own jokes.
Yeah, they want to see you succeed. Because otherwise, like, why did I get a babysitter tonight?
Yeah, exactly, right?
What am I doing here?
Uh-huh.
I could have gotten Chinese food instead.
Yeah.
I would feel like, I I would feel pretty discouraged by something like because the competition 50 people is crazy. So I would say I think like a comedy show, because of how mentally exhausting it can be, I feel like the longest it could probably be is like 2 hours. I think if you go over 2 hours, you're just gonna wear people down.
Yeah.
Anything more than 2 hours is wild, because then it's like now I'm doing a homework assignment. I really have to think here.
Yeah.
I feel like in some comedy shows they'll really go crazy with it. They'll do like 3.5 hours. They'll do long ones. I feel like you can't you're almost torturing the audience at that point.
My heart goes out to the judges of those competitions because they have to sit through all of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, people are giving their like best material because it's a competition, but still, you gotta stay paying attention. Like, there's not really any break. There's no time for a break because everybody wants to like get in, get out, or like, you know, do it in the most confined time space. Yeah, it's just to those people. To the people that vouch, man, like, yeah, I respect that for sure.
Have you ever thought about like setting up your own type of show? Is that something you'd ever want to do?
Yeah, definitely. I'm in the process of. I'm gonna start helping out with this show at Beer Miscuous called the Low Below Comedy Show. It's actually, like, I think the longest running free show in Chicago. That is to say, it started in like 2015. But I'm really excited about that because it's a brewery that me and my friends frequent. And it's in the basement. It's a very intimate space once a month. So it's not like something that I like every week would be like a lot of pressure. But helping out with that show is going to be really fun because I think I'll get to host if I want to. You know, that's kind of what we talked about. And I love hosting. It's so fun. And, you know, you get to like riff with the audience a bit more instead of having like a set that you need to perform. You can like, because I want to work on my crowd work. Like right now, it's very not minimal. I don't do it very much. And so I'm not really improving in that area. But I want to work on my crowd work, so that's something that's coming up. There's also a bar that just opened up by me that I kind of talked to the manager and was like, would you consider doing an open mic? And he's like, yeah, here's my email. And then that was like a month and a half ago, and then kind of things were picking up for me, so I haven't emailed him. I don't want to try to pitch something that I'm not committed to. But then I went to the bar the other day, and he came up to me, he recognized me, and he's like, so when we doing this comedy thing? And I'm like, shit, okay, man, maybe I gotta like full send. So yeah, definitely. It's gonna be coming up in the next couple of months. I'll be starting to host and stuff. I feel like that's the natural next step from where I am now, just doing open mics. Now I'll be hosting, so I'll get more comfortable with crowd work and stuff. And then yeah, here and there's a book show, and then that's fun.
It probably helps you get more intimate with other comics, even if you're a host and like you're trying to put together something. It probably helps a lot with that network word.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of comes naturally with just open mics in general too. Like the amount of open mics I go to, like I know, usually recognize somebody at every open mic that I go to now.
Yeah.
And if not, I'll meet somebody that I'll recognize the next time.
Which is cool because you've only been going to it for about like 6 months. So pretty quickly you start to get to know people.
Yeah.
It happens really fast.
And it's like comedy's the best place to know people because then I can be like, if I liked something in their set afterwards, I'm like, hey, I liked your joke about this. Boom, now we're talking or something. Like, everyone's so friendly. Like, I don't know, I have a great time. I love the people that I meet. It's just so fun. And they're all so funny. I mean, come on, they're comics, but like, they're so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me wish I was a comedian a little bit. Like, at least I can go to these open mics and, like, hey, I have a podcast, blah, blah, blah. It gives me an in. Because comedians really are, they're more, I think I conversate like they do. I think comedians have a more fun approach to conversations than the average person. Like, they are trying to have fun. Whereas, like, most people aren't really doing that. Most people are just kind of chatting. Whereas a comedian is, like, trying to entertain themselves.
Yeah, in a way.
And that actually is a very valuable thing because it makes them, like, approachable in that way. And it's fun to make friends with comedians because they're just fun. They're just trying to have fun. Yeah. And, like, yeah, I imagine hosting a show would be crazy, though, because it'd be a lot. I bet there's a lot of moving parts in that you wouldn't realize before you do it. Like, I think, I want to say John Torgerson. It was him and Amy Simon that started the Gauntlet. I think Amy Simon kind of took over the Gauntlet, but I feel like it was him saying, I can't remember who said it. There was just somebody saying that like it helps to have somebody who knows the ropes. I think it was him saying like with her, like she kind of showed him the way. I think so. But that's what you need. You need somebody, a mentor, because otherwise you're going in completely blind. And hosting is probably all kinds of stuff, even audio, like audio and audio engineering. That's probably a big part about hosting an open mic, is making sure it sounds good. That and like getting people in there. Then it's advertising the open mic. It's letting people know it exists. And then it's the actual act of hosting.
Yeah.
How do I keep these people involved and keep the show moving and all that stuff? But it is kind of a natural extension of just being a comic, I would say. Yeah. And one thing I've noticed about a good host too is usually they do know most people. They're like, oh, here's so and so, like they've been around for a long time. I love them. Blah 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 blah.
It makes the transition more fun too if you have something personal to say about them, like a little roast or something when you're introducing them. I don't know. It's just a good time. And that's why I'm like particularly excited about the Love Below comedy show. I think it's like perfect for me to like get my foot in because it's already a running show. It exists without me. And so I get to like see how it is already and like see where I can, but it's not like all the weights on my shoulders right away.
It already has a host? It already has somebody doing that?
Yeah. There's like two guys that run it. Rob and then Dan Cass.
Okay.
Well, Dan Cass, yeah.
And then you just kind of want to squeeze your way in there.
Yeah, well, Dan came. I like loved the show. I went to the show first. This is something that I feel like I do more than the next comic is actually just going to shows and being an audience member. Because I mean, the reason I'm into comedy is because I love comedy, right?
Yeah.
But it's also a great way to like see like bigger people perform and stuff. So I went to the Beer Muscua show just because I was like, oh, this is cool. And then afterwards, I was like, how do you book your comics to Dan? And he was like, what, do you want to be on it? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And so I did the show in, I don't know, like September, I think, or maybe October. And then I messaged him a month or two ago, like, hey, can I get back on the show? Because it was really fun. And he was like, yeah. But I think he saw that like I was interested in the show, passionate about the space. And then he was like, and then he reached out to me and was like, would you want to help start producing the Love Below comedy show? And I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes, I would. Yes, I would, Dan. I'm excited.
He read your mind.
Yeah, because like he does a lot of shows at the Laugh Factory, and so his time is like taken up, and so the show is just, it could use more like promotion and at the time, so I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
I think I can add to it. I know a lot of like comics from open mics that I know are funny because they make me laugh, so put them up on there and we can make something cool.
Is it so the type of thing where you bring in a bunch, like you're still picking comics and all that, you're putting a show together?
Yeah.
So it's like a producer type of thing then?
Yes.
I see. So not so much a host, but a producer.
Both.
Okay. Both.
It's whatever we want for that show. Like maybe we'll switch off hosting, but like yeah.
Interesting.
Getting the comics there.
Because producing is, it's definitely, well, for one, that's probably where some of the money is in comedy, right? Is if you can produce a show, you could probably make some actual revenue off of something like that.
It's a free show, so I don't know about that.
But if you have like the skill set of
in
being
the future,
a producer,
yeah.
Exactly. And that type of thing is really valuable because where the hell is the money in comedy? It's kind of a mystery.
That is the question.
One time a comic told me, he's like, yeah, I make like $20 a show. I'm like, what? $20?
It really just depends on the venue and like the people. I don't know. Like a lot of shows won't pay you at all, or maybe they'll give you like a couple free drinks or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll do it. But
you and weed.
I take it, man.
Don't say that on record. They hear you and they will remember that.
I take cash only.
Cash only. They'll be like, hey, I heard you take weed. You got a couple grams right here. Be like, oh, sweet, That'll become the future of your career. Get paid in weed only. There was something I just heard yesterday. It was Norm Macdonald. Apparently, he had it worked out with some like showrunners that they would pay him in like chips for the casino because he was that addicted to gambling.
Oh no.
Which would be so
That
bad.
is so exploitative.
Yeah. Casinos are not good news, okay? You heard it here first, folks, okay? You didn't hear it here first. You probably heard it a million times, but I'll remind you. Casinos are not good news. I go into the casino.
I don't take casino chips, by the way.
Yeah, I don't take casino chips. I might take weed, okay? I might take it. It's dry January, though, so maybe not, right?
I mean, I'll take it. I'll keep it for later.
Save it, throw it in a jar.
Honestly, yeah, I keep my weed for a long time. I don't go through it that quickly, I wouldn't say.
Me too. But I mean, how much do you have at once is the question.
I usually get like an eighth, and then maybe a little bit more if I want to have a combo of indica / sativa. Like, I like my sativa dominant hybrids, but then if I want it before bed, it needs to be indica.
Ah, yeah. See, isn't that fun that we can do that now? 'Cause, like, back in the day,
Yeah.
it did not used to be like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
weed and
sometimes
weed.
my dealer would be like, would you rather have one or the other? And I'd be like, oh, sativa, I guess I would choose.
See, I like that because a lot of people don't even do that. They didn't even tell you the strain. They didn't even let you know. You know nothing about this, you know, which is fine. That's fine. But I like to know.
Yeah, yeah,
like to
yeah.
know.
Some people are more, are you particular about your strains?
I just like to know. Like, I'm okay with not knowing, but it's so much more fun. Like, it's so much more fun to be able to say, like, yo, this is lemon kush right here. Let's smoke some lemon kush.
Yeah.
And it smells like lemons. Like, that's really fun as opposed to, you know, mystery meat. I have no idea what this is.
Fair enough. That doesn't, I wouldn't smoke that, I don't think.
Well, I was using a metaphor.
I
but
know,
Can you imagine
I
if
know.
a strain was called mystery meat?
Yum. Give me some bologna,
It just smells like ham.
please.
I always think about that. Like, if you're going with like fake strain names, it would probably be pretty easy to come up with some like Heisen Kush, Bubble Fresh. Like, it's so, weed names are so funny. And I've learned that, like, if you go on ChatGPT, it can come up with weed strain names for you. If you just type in, come up with a bunch of weed strain names related to the show The Walking Dead, it'll, like, come up with Rick
Yeah, of course it will.
Rick Grimes, I don't know, I can't even think of a good one right now. Zombie. Dude. Oh, the words aren't wording, as they say.
As they say. Did you know that a single search or a single like conversation with ChatGPT, it takes 10 times the energy as a search query in Google?
Really?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna try to use ChatGPT less now that I know that because, you know. it's
Well, yeah,
fucked
I
up.
think that's a big part of the concern with it is like if it were to really grow, we don't even have the proper resources to power it at the moment. It would be a crazy undertaking.
Hey man, we're warming the globe with it. You know?
Yeah, probably not good.
Nah.
Probably not good. Probably not good to have like. I'm trying to think, like 10 times. That actually sounds like it's undercutting it. I would assume it's more.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
It's so much processing power for something to be able to do that. Google's just kind of searching through all this stuff and then just curating a bunch of information, whereas ChatGPT is like digging deeper than that. Wow, yeah, I never really. I've heard a little bit about that, but I don't know enough about it. I think though it's one of those things where I don't know, like how conscious can you be of everything? Because like our phones, they're not made from great conditions. I think it's like cobalt or something like that. There's some crazy like mining situation going on with the materials that are in phones where if you own a cell phone, you've indirectly supported child labor in some way.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think, and with coffee, like you'll hear people say stuff about not organic coffee beans, but like there's completely different like conditions for coffee, and there's coffee that comes from bad places and coffee that comes from good places. I wish I knew more about this, but it's all that stuff. We're like, how conscious can you be? How conscious can you be? And I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know. Maybe it's all connected to the shopping cart in some strange way. It all goes back to
It
the
all
shopping
goes
cart.
back to the shopping cart, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
Would you or would you not return the shopping cart? Would you or would you not use ChatGPT. It's all the same.
Honestly, though, yeah, like once I find all these discoveries, I try my best, you know.
Ignorance is bliss.
I guess, yeah, but it's also boring.
Yeah, it is boring. It is boring. Ignorance is bliss, but it's not where anything fun happens. That's what I think. Like, ignorance is bliss, but you're not gonna build out of ignorance. So you're not gonna make anything.
Not gonna
real.
build. Yeah, I think like you can enjoy ignorance. Like you can be sitting in a field of grass and have a grand old time, but like it's
just
yeah,
a field
I
of
like
grass.
building. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just building the grass. You're just being. You can be, but you can't make.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Jemmy Hazeman on this show, and I was talking to him, and it was kind of like, I wonder how much of ideas are okay. Like if I come up with great ideas inside a basement, and I come up with all this stuff on my own in my lonesome, like how valuable is that compared to collaborating with people and coming up with ideas in the world? And it's like there's something better about the second one, the latter, but also it is blissful to just be in your own bubble and to just be able to create things and come up with your own things, but that won't take you anywhere just there. You can only do so much in one place. You have to share it, and you have to collaborate, and you have to, like, you want to think I can improve and I can get better and I can do all of it on my own, but it's all a lie that you tell yourself.
I mean, all of comedy is collaboration. I'm collaborating with the audience, you know?
Yep.
And it's like, what works, what doesn't, what's funny, you tell me.
Yeah.
Very much.
And they have to be honest, yeah. Do you find that over time that relationship with the audience changes, or is it still kind of the same thing?
I think it's the same.
Yeah. It's probably always the
Like,
same.
I mean, maybe throughout a set. I don't know. Did that do something?
Oh, no, it just does that.
Okay. No, I would say it's the same. We hopefully good.
Yeah. Hopefully we're still friends.
Yeah. Hopefully you don't hate me.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on this episode? You got any good stuff? Yeah, you got any good topics, or?
I think we went through a lot of good stuff. I think we talked about a lot of fun things.
We talked about some fun stuff.
Talked about drugs, shopping carts, comedy a little bit,
Yeah.
some music, mostly philosophy.
Yeah, that's how it tends to go on the show. Well, let the people know where they can find you, what your name is, because we never really introduced you. And then
Yeah.
also, if you got a final message for them, if you want to send them home, wrap it all up with a bow, give them a little moral of the story, the floor is yours. It's your chance.
Okay. Okay, I'm Natalie Whalen. You can find me. I am scrapping together our website right now. It'll probably look better by the time this comes to fruition. This episode.
Whatever this is.
Maybe you can link it because it's a kind of a weird URL because I'm doing it on GitHub because I'm coding it. So it's nwhalen2.github.io/cacanat. So yeah.
Say that 5 times fast, folks.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm doing some shows upcoming here around Chicago. I'm going to Shakers on Clark soon, doing Promiscuous. And then I have a show at Comedy Bar on February 17th, I believe, whatever that Monday is, that I'm actually really excited about. That's what I won in the competition. I won that set. So that's my biggest to date. So yeah, my website will have all of that information as well as my social media. My Instagram is my last name, but like with an extra letter on the front and end. So it's W Whalen N. Yeah. Really
W Whalen N. Yeah.
crazy, right? A little mirror action. I was like, in 6 minutes, I was like, wow.
I'm a genius.
I'm a genius.
All right.
And then the message that I want to leave is what you said earlier, like, not if you don't love what you do what you, or not if you don't do what you love what you do, but I would just say in general, love what you do what you love. Because even if you don't like, no, I like how you put it, actually. I like how you put it. If you don't do what you love what you do. I said it wrong again, didn't I?
I think you said it right.
If you don't love what you do, do what you love?
If you don't love what you do, no, you had it right the first time. If you don't do what you love what you do. Like if you're the guy that's stuck at 7-Eleven and you don't like your circumstances, still enjoy that job.
The main
and love
message,
it.
the main message is life is your attitude. And your actions are going to reflect your attitude, and people are going to feel your energy based on that. So just try to make it as positive as you can, despite your circumstances, in light of your circumstances, with your circumstances. Use your circumstances towards your own good.
And also, like, the way that you respond to those circumstances, and again, like, the individual choices you make all form this grander picture. And I think by choosing to enjoy things and choosing to love life and choosing to love what you do, I think that becomes doing what you love. Like, I think naturally things find a way. If you put it well just now, where it's like, it's your attitude first. If you have the proper outlook, things will tend to fall into place. But that's only if you start there and then you make the choices that make the most sense from there, and you listen to that inner voice and you allow yourself to do things that you want. You allow yourself, and if you're not doing what you want, at least enjoy that moment and think like, well, I can at least respond to this differently, because it's like, it's one thing to experience something, it's another thing to react to it. And it's your reactions that really count. So
Yeah, and I think all good things stem from a good attitude. Like, you're just naturally going to be nicer to people if you have a good attitude. You're probably going to be funnier if you have a good attitude.
Probably.
So.
Yeah. Probably not the funniest guy if you're Ebenezer Scrooge.
He was pretty funny. Okay, it depends on the persona, but maybe this just works for me.
The Grinch is kind of funny too.
He's funny as hell. That's what he is.
All right, well, there's got to be somebody.
Solve world hunger?
I say Red Foreman, but even Red Foreman, he's pretty funny too. Solve world hunger for the Grinch? What do you mean solve world hunger?
That was one of his lists.
What is it?
Yeah, I think so. He was
minute.
get trust, solve world hunger, world domination. You know what? Yeah, it sounds out of character, doesn't it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Fact check me.
Yeah, that invisible guy in the corner is looking up the Grinch right now.
Yeah, okay, I'm Natalie. Check out my GitHub.
All right, and with that being said, folks, Rules Radio. Clocking out.
Got the world in my pocket, got a girl on my arm, got an eye in my socket, whirlwinds in my palms. I'm a free man, let me lead you along. I can show you something different, let me sing you a song. Ain't no algorithm touch me, ain't no palace this lovely. I find a way to find a way out.